Chapter 648. Phoenix Wings. Yu Chan's arms spread out. Multicolored light filled the sky, and 5 colored feathers fluttered about, turning into a pair of resplendent wings. The phoenix wings were like blades, hacking apart heaven and earth. As soon as she took action, Yu Chan used her most powerful strength. This was a remnant technique of the true phoenix precious technique. The archaic vicious ten's exceptional precious technique, even if it was only a remnant technique, it still possessed extreme power. It was the heaven-mending sect's secret precious technique that was only passed down to the Holy Lady. A remnant technique of the true phoenix precious technique? Xiaohao chuckled. He had already cultivated the complete true phoenix precious technique to the point where he was even stronger than a phoenix at the same cultivation level, so why would he care about Yu Chan's remnant technique? Even if Xiaohao didn't use his full strength, Yu Chan still wasn't his opponent. Hong, qi and blood rushed into the sky. Xiaohao didn't use any precious techniques or divine abilities, only sending out a fist. Hong Long. With a single fist, the phoenix wings loudly exploded. The incomparably tyrannical power didn't stop there. It blasted apart the phoenix wings and heavily smashed into Yu Chan's body. Pung! Yu Chan's entire body exploded into a rain of light. A mere spiritual body dares to take action against me? Are you trying to test out my strength? A holy lady and a witch, both of you aren't easy to deal with after all. Xiaohao chuckled. With a wave of his sleeve, he gathered the scattered spiritual light and collected it into his hand. He turned around and landed on the ground. For you, this is your direct room, girl. With a wave of his hand, a sphere of spiritual light was tossed into the little stone's hand. Xiaohao said with a smile, "There is her aura inside. If you want to catch her, you have to do it early. They've already run far away." They already ran. The little stone received the sphere of light. With a touch of his soul, he remembered the aura inside. He then casually crushed the sphere of light. Heaven-mending sect, Western sect, Immortal Mountain, and Sky-severing sect have all been chased away. The remaining small fries can't be let go either. Xiaohao raised his eyes towards Stone Capital and coldly snorted. These foreign powers actually dared to act so recklessly in my Stone Country, trying to control Stone Country and turn everyone in Stone Country into their puppets. What wishful thinking. Then we'll wipe them out. The little stone clenched his fists. His face was ice cold. Bang! Roar! The sky-devouring sparrow and Qiong-Qi revealed their true forms. They carried Xiaohao and Qiong-Qi into the sky and floated above Stone Capital. Their vast auras covered the sky and earth. I am Stone Country's wasteland marquis. I am Stone Country's heavenly marquis. Little Shirtu and Xiaohao stood on the back of the vicious beast. Divine splendor erupted as they loudly proclaimed, "The foreign sects are plotting to overthrow our country. We hereby declare that all outsiders must leave the Stone Country within 2 hours. Those who remain after 2 hours will be killed without mercy." His voice was like thunder, shaking heaven and earth. Hearing this announcement, the expressions of all the foreign visitors in the Stone Capital changed. "Bastard! How dare you!" A figure covered in black mist, as if he was shrouded in a dark cloud, smashed the wine bottle in his hand to the ground with a bang and roared angrily. 2 ignorant barbarians from the desolate region actually dare to look down on the inheritances of our great sects? Another figure with countless roots on his head slammed the table and stood up, unable to contain his anger. Today, Taihao and Xiaohao opened their sections. The Western sect, Immortal Mountain, and Heaven-mending sect all went to probe. The Western sect's people were swallowed up, the Immortal Mountain's people were captured, and the Heaven-mending sect's Fairy Yu Chan's spiritual body was even destroyed. Another middle-aged man with a single horn on his head continued. He shook his head and said, "They didn't even give face to the 3 great sections. These 2 either have something to rely on or they are just hotheads. Regardless of which one it is, they are not to be trifled with." Then what do we do? Those two fellows have two supreme expert vicious beasts under them. If we fight them head-on, we definitely won't be able to win. Could it be that we have no choice but to retreat? If we are chased out by two barbarians from the desolate region with just a few words, where will we put our face? The figure shrouded in black mist roared angrily. Heh. The great sex prestige cannot scare them, and we can't fight them head-on. Right now, we have to start from within Stone Country. The single-horned man seemed to have a lot of wisdom in his hands. Don't you all have dealings with some of Stone Country's influential figures? These two brats, with their mere marquis status, actually dared to ignore the human emperor and privately order us to be chased out. This is a great taboo. It really is a great move. When they heard this, everyone's eyes lit up, and they immediately took action. Not long after, within Stone Country's imperial palace, countless officials began to accuse Marquis Wasteland and Marquis Houtian. Your Majesty, Marquis Wasteland and Marquis Houtian have no regard for law and order. They actually disregarded the human emperor and privately ordered the expulsion of the foreign guests. This is truly treason. A noble sent a petition to accuse Xiaohao and Marquis Houtian. Your Majesty, the country's laws and decrees come from the hands of the human emperor. This is the order of the country. Marquis Wasteland and Marquis Houtian have monopolized the government and privately issued decrees. It is clear how ambitious they are. Another official bowed towards the human emperor. This official earnestly requests Your Majesty to kill these traitors and restore order to the country. This official concurs. A large group of officials and nobles all agreed, requesting the human emperor to issue a decree to kill Xiaohao and Marquis Houtian. Sigh. After a moment of silence, the human emperor let out a long sigh. He looked up at these officials and nobles and shook his head. If you guys hadn't jumped out yourselves, I wouldn't have known that so many people were colluding with the foreign sections. Standing up, the human emperor's face gradually turned cold. You guys are the pillars of Stone Country, and many of you come from prestigious families. I didn't expect that you guys would choose to be dogs instead of good people. Your subjects are loyal and devoted to you. We will never be disloyal. These people were all righteous and strict. They seemed to be loyal to the country and aboveboard. Is that so? The human emperor smiled and looked out of the palace. He said leisurely, 2 hours have passed. At this time, those foreign guests should have all been killed. What? Hearing the human emperor's words, the group of officials turned pale with fright. This is a calamity. This is a calamity. Human Emperor, the calamity is about to begin. You won't be able to escape it and will definitely die. You're actually so deranged that you want to drag us down with you? The disciples of the foreign sects have all died in Stone Country. The various sects will definitely be furious. Human Emperor, let's see what you have to resist. You're going to die before the calamity arrives. Now that they had shed all pretense of cordiality, these officials and nobles didn't bother with any pretense. They directly pointed at the human emperor and cursed. Your masters have all been killed. What gave you the courage to be disrespectful to me? The human emperor snorted. With a wave of his hand, a large seal soared into the air and came crashing down. Blood dyed the royal court. The officials and nobles who jumped out were all killed by the human emperor's seal. In Stone Capital, kill. Xiaohao slashed out and beheaded a man with a long horn on his forehead. At this point, all the foreign guests in Stone Capital had been wiped out. The foreign sex claws that had reached for Stone Country were ruthlessly chopped off. Chapter 649. Preposterous. Truly arrogant to the extreme. The great sects in the outer realms were furious when they found out that their disciples had been killed in the desolate region. How can you be so unbridled with just a few supremacies backing you? The great calamity is coming. When the time comes, all of your supremacies will perish. Stone Country will also fall into our hands. The great sects did not make any more moves. Instead, they remained silent, waiting for the arrival of the great calamity, waiting for the great change in the 8 realms. Once the great calamity was over, all of the supremacies would be wiped out. At that time, the entire 8 realms would fall into the hands of the great sections. This was the will of heaven, this was the might of heaven, no one could change it. Then, Liu expressed his disagreement. The so-called great calamity is coming? Liu raised his head to look at the horizon. When he saw the faintly discernible spatial cracks in the sky, a smile appeared on his face. Aren't you looking for the Supreme Hall? I'll show you the Supreme Palace. The incarnations of the sect masters did not have much value to Liu. At most, he would just casually send them away. It was not worth the effort. However, the incarnations of the sect masters were worthless, but the 2 treasures were extremely valuable. Endless immortal bell, and half of small pagoda's body. The body of the pagoda was fine, but he could not let go of the endless immortal bell. How could the peerless treasure of the endless immortal king be left outside and covered in dust? The great calamity is coming soon. The Fire Nation's capital still has the Supreme Palace's items. I'll let Xiaohao take them back. Liu sent a message to Xiaohao, instructing him to head to the Fire Nation's capital to take back the Supreme Palace's items. Ancestral Master has ordered me to head to the Fire Nation to take back the Supreme Palace's items. Xiaohao did not dare to delay after receiving the order and hurriedly set off. Fire Nation? At this time, the Fire Nation is probably being targeted by the Outer Realms. Isn't junior sister Huoling Er's home in the Fire Nation? Let's pay her a visit. Little Stone rubbed his chin and sneered. Since we've already offended the Outer Realms, we might as well go all the way. Let's help junior sister Huoling clean up these Outer Realm demons. Let's go then. Qiongqi and the heaven-swallowing sparrow were left behind to oversee the stone capital to assist the human emperor and prevent the foreign powers from launching another counterattack. Xiaohao and Qiongqi spread their wings and soared into the sky, rushing in the direction of the Fire Nation. At this time, the Fire Nation was facing the same predicament as the Stone Nation. The great calamity was about to arrive. The great sects from outside the realm were pressuring them, and the nobles had other thoughts. The Fire Nation's human emperor was also facing the danger of facing the calamity. Undercurrents were surging within the Fire Nation. Human emperor, you must consider this carefully. The great calamity is coming. Only by joining the Solar Divine Palace will you have the chance to save your life. As the current holy son of the Solar Divine Palace, it is Huoling Er's good fortune to take her as my concubine. The human sovereign must not make a mistake. A golden-haired, golden-eyed young man, whose entire body was bursting with blazing flames, coldly glanced at the Fire Nation human sovereign and stood with his hands clasped behind his back. Damn it! Huolinger angrily gnashed her teeth. The vermilion bird tattoo on her forehead burst into flames that filled the sky, as if a vermilion bird had spread its wings and soared into the sky. Humph! The Fire Emperor's eyes flashed coldly. How arrogant! Arrogant? That's because I have the right to be arrogant. The golden-haired man coldly laughed as he looked at the Fire Emperor and curled his lips in disdain. The great calamity is coming. The Fire Emperor and that vermilion bird guardian spirit are both in the midst of the calamity. If you dare to resist, only death awaits you. Joining the Solar Divine Palace is your only way out. Is that so? The disciples of the Heaven-Mending sect are not to be bullied by just anyone. Moonlight filled the air as Yu-chan slowly walked into the main hall like a fairy descending to the mortal world. The Fire Nation's princess was originally a disciple of the Heaven-Mending sect. The Solar Divine Palace's hands are reaching too far. Yu-chan coldly glanced at the Solar Divine Palace's holy son, then looked at the Fire Emperor and pointed at the sky. Human Emperor, quickly make a decision. There isn't much time left. Fire Emperor, the Heaven-Mending sect is not a good place to go. If the Fire Nation's princess enters the heaven-mending sect, who knows when she will be given to some disciple as a cultivation vessel. She might as well become this holy sun's concubine. Human Emperor, you must consider this carefully. The golden-haired man snorted at Yuchan, then calmly reminded the Fire Emperor. Aren't you all the same? Hualing coldly snorted, and anger appeared on her face. Whether it was the heaven-mending sect or the solar divine palace, they were all the same. None of them had good intentions. The Fire Emperor remained silent. In reality, Yuchan was right. Once the Great Calamity began, without the protection of the great sects, the Fire Emperor and the Vermilion Bird Guardian spirit would definitely die. At that time, the Fire Nation would still fall into their hands. It seemed that there was no point in fighting now. Bedwarmer girl, so you're here? I've been looking for you for a long time. At this moment, 2 golden lights whistled through the air. Little Stone and Xiaohao's figures landed in the Fire Nation's imperial palace. It's you two. Yuchan's expression changed, and she tightly furrowed her brows. These 2 fellows were here. Things were going to be troublesome. Taihao? Xiaohao? You're here? Seeing these 2, Hualing was very happy. Taihao and Xiaohao? You 2 are the 2 madmen from the Stone Nation? You expelled the great sects from outside the realm and killed their disciples. You're seeking death. The golden-haired man glanced at Xiaohao and Little Stone and harumphed loudly. Greetings, Fire Emperor. The 2 of them completely ignored the golden-haired man and bowed to the Fire Emperor. You 2 don't need to be so polite. The Fire Emperor smiled and nodded. He was also very happy with their arrival. Bastard! You 2 barbarians from the desolate region dare to be so rude to me when I'm asking? The golden-haired man shouted angrily. His entire body was covered in golden light. Scorching flames soared into the sky and waves of heat surged like lava erupting. A feathered beast dares to put on airs in front of me? Xiaohao took a step forward and slapped down with his palm. His qi and blood surged into the sky. His vigorous qi and blood were like a vast ocean, surging violently. You dare to attack me? No matter how strong your body is, it's still just brute force. Golden Crow True Fire. The image of a golden crow appeared. Flames filled the sky and incinerated everything. If not for the protection of the Fire Nation's imperial palace, the entire palace would have been burned to the ground. In the Sun Saint Sun's eyes, a barbarian with a strong body like Xiaohao would be burned to ashes in an instant under the Golden Crow True Fire. Golden Crow True Fire, this is all leftover from me. Xiaohao had practiced the Golden Crow Treasured technique a long time ago. The Sun Saint Sun's Golden Crow True Fire was really leftover. Completely ignoring the flames, Xiaohao slapped out with his palm. It pierced through the flames and landed heavily on the Sun Saint Sun's chest. Bang! With a loud explosion, an incomparably powerful force exploded. The Sun Saint Sun exploded into a cloud of blood mist. He was completely and utterly dead. Servant girl, where are you running to? When Xiaohao attacked, Little Stone roared and rushed toward Yuchan. Yuchan's expression changed drastically. She rushed out in a streak of moonlight and turned to run. This time, she was traveling with her real body and not her spiritual body. If she was really captured and brought back to warm his bed, then it would be unimaginable. You can't run. Go back and warm my bed obediently. Little Stone's figure shot into the sky and chased after Yuchan. Chapter 650. My 2 honorable nephews, you've wiped out the powers outside the Stone Country and are extremely famous. The Fire Emperor smiled as he looked at Xiaohao with a profound expression on his face. Being able to become the human emperor meant that he wasn't a simple character. From the Fire Emperor's point of view, Xiaohao and the others dared to act so recklessly and disregard the great sects outside the Stone Country. They didn't even care about the Fire Emperor's tribulations. I'm here on the orders of the Patriarch to retrieve the sect's belongings. Just now I've offended you. Please forgive me. Xiao Hao smiled as he cupped his hands towards the Fire Emperor. He didn't elaborate further and only mentioned the words, sect's belongings. Oh? May I know what your sect left behind in our country? If you need anything, please feel free to ask. The Fire Emperor didn't know what the so-called sect's belongings meant and could only reply politely. The sect's belongings are under the Fire Nation's divine tree. Xiao Hao pointed outside the main hall. There was a towering tree that pierced through the clouds and was emitting boundless fiery light. This fiery tree was the Fire Nation's first vermilion bird guardian spirit. It had once ignited its godly fire and ascended to the spiritual god realm. However, after a huge battle, its true spirit was destroyed and turned into an ordinary tree. Today, although it was extremely mystical, it no longer had any sentience. Guardian Spirit Divine Tree? Your sect's belongings are actually under the Guardian Spirit Divine Tree? The Fire Emperor was stunned and couldn't believe it. This was equivalent to someone telling you that there's something hidden under your bed. This was simply too frightening. How did the sect's belongings end up under the Fire Nation's Guardian Spirit Divine Tree? However, don't worry, Fire Emperor, I won't touch the Guardian Spirit Divine Tree. Xiao Hao smiled at the Fire Emperor. According to the Patriarch, there's only a spell talisman here. This item is rather dangerous. If something were to happen to it, I'm afraid it would be disastrous. It's that serious? Although the Fire Emperor was skeptical, he didn't want to give Xiao Hao face. If that's the case, please take back your belongings. Many thanks, Fire Emperor. Xiao Hao clasped his hands and bowed before following the Fire Emperor to the Guardian Spirit Tree. The sect's belongings are here. Pointing at the root of the divine tree, Xiao Hao waved his hand, and a loud cracking sound rang out. It was as if space had been shattered. Beneath the Guardian Spirit Divine Tree, a spatial crack split open. Ferocious, peerless fiendish, monstrous fiendish chi. An endless murderous aura exuded from this crack. It was as if it was capable of destroying the heavens and earth, exterminating all living beings. It was as if it was a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. What is this thing? The Fire Emperor's face turned pale as cold sweat trickled down his forehead. Heavens, in the Fire Nation's capital city, beside the Imperial Palace, there was actually such a terrifying thing? After all these years, the fact that Fire Nation didn't suffer any mishaps and didn't die out was truly a blessing from the heavens. How terrifying was Xiao Hao's sect? How could an item that was left outside be so powerful? According to the Ancestral Master, this is the third killing spell of all eternity. Following the instructions given by the Supreme Hall, Xiao Hao waved his hand as a formless wave of energy swept across the spatial crack, causing the murderous aura to dissipate. Buzz. Within the spatial crack, a trembling sound could be heard. A palm-sized item that looked like a tortoiseshell flew out from the crack and landed in Xiao Hao's hands. This tortoiseshell looked extremely ancient. It didn't look like anything special, but the aura it exuded was so strong that it felt as if it could topple the earth. This belongs to the sect. Xiao Hao looked at the tortoiseshell in his hands as he smiled and nodded at the Fire Emperor before keeping the tortoiseshell. The spatial crack closed as the Guardian Spirit Divine Tree returned to its original state. The third killing spell of all eternity was placed in the Fire Nation's capital city. The Fire Emperor's forehead broke out in cold sweat once more. Xiao Hao, look around and see if there's anything left behind. An item that was left behind was the third killing spell of all eternity. If there's something left behind, would there be a fourth or fifth killing spell? Fire Emperor, don't worry. There's nothing left here that belongs to the sect. Xiao Hao laughed as he pointed in the direction of the medicine capital. There are still some items left behind by the sect. The ninth killing spell of all eternity is there as well. There's a ninth killing spell in the medicine capital? The Fire Emperor's mouth twitched. Why are all the items left behind by the sect in the Fire Nation? One is the third killing spell and the other is the ninth killing spell. What about the others? From the first to the ninth, there's only 2. What about the other 7? Don't tell me they're also in the Fire Nation? Fire Emperor, you're worrying too much. Within my sect, there are only 2 eternal killing arrays that have been passed down. Xiao Hao felt helpless as well. The items left behind by the sect were all extremely powerful. It was no wonder that the Fire Emperor was worried. There's a total of 2 killing spells, and they're both in the Fire Nation. The Fire Emperor had a complicated look in his eyes. Speaking of which, does the Fire Nation have any enmity with your sect? Haha. Fire Emperor, you're thinking too much. Xiao Hao laughed as he shook his head. According to the Patriarch, when the elders of the sect set up the spell in the Great Wilderness, there was no Fire Nation then. The Fire Emperor's expression froze. Alright, there was no Fire Nation then. How ancient is your sect? Thinking up to this point, the Fire Emperor finally understood why Xiao Hao dared to challenge the other great sections. For a sect to be so ancient, they must have a lot of resources. When the tribulation comes, they must have a way to overcome it, right? Nephew, the heavens and earth are changing and the tribulation is coming. I wonder if you have any good ideas? Virtuous nephew, please teach me. The Fire Emperor bowed respectfully towards Xiao Hao. Fire Emperor, you're too courteous. Xiao Hao hurriedly helped the Fire Emperor up. Uncle, you don't have to worry. The Patriarch said that this tribulation isn't a heavenly tribulation but a tribulation of man. The Patriarch's true body is in the lower realm and he's in charge of the great wilderness. If someone dares to harm the people, how could the Patriarch sit by and do nothing? Your Patriarch's true body is in charge of the great wilderness? If that's the case, there's nothing to worry about. Although the Fire Emperor said this, he was still worried. This was because he didn't know much about Xiao Hao's so-called Patriarch. He didn't know how strong this Patriarch was. Whether or not he could overcome the tribulation was still unknown. Fire Emperor, my Patriarch is the most powerful existence in the world. Having been reincarnated 100 times, how could Xiao Hao not know what the Fire Emperor was thinking? He then smiled and pointed towards the sky. Patriarch is a celestial. Celestial? The Fire Emperor trembled as his eyeballs almost fell out of their socket. In the ancient records of the Fire Nation, the existence of celestial was vaguely mentioned. Celestial was an immortal existence and could destroy the heavens and earth. Celestial was an existence that was above all living beings. Xiao Hao's sect actually had such a terrifying existence? No wonder they didn't care about the great sects and the tribulation. With such a strong backing, what was there to be afraid of? Chapter 651. I'm back! Little Shirtu laughed heartily as he landed. In his hands, he was carrying a woman in snow-white clothes. Fairy Yu-chan? The Fire Emperor looked at the person in Little Stone's hands and was shocked. The heaven-mending sect's holy maiden was not like the Sun God Palace's holy sun. She was a true formation arrangement realm noble. Such a peerless figure was captured by Marquis Wasteland just like that? Bastard! You, a venerable, bullied me, a noble. What kind of skill is that? Yu-chan was so embarrassed that she wanted to die. She struggled and roared. Yu-chan was defeated and captured by Marquis Wasteland. Naturally, she could tell how powerful Marquis Wasteland was. Venerable? Marquis Wasteland is a venerable? The Fire Emperor couldn't even speak. As expected of a sect with immortals. A 14-year-old venerable, wasn't that too terrifying? If Marquis Wasteland was a venerable, then what about Xiao Hao? He was definitely a venerable as well. 2 14-year-old venerables, that was too heaven-defying. Tong Fong lass, obediently go back and warm my bed. Little Stone laughed loudly. Servant girl? Warm my bed? Huoling had a complicated expression on her face. A trace of sadness flashed in her eyes. Just kidding. Xiao Hao's senses were sharp. He sensed that something was wrong and hurriedly explained for Little Stone, Fairy Yu-chan of the Heaven Mending Sect is just a guest. Now that this matter is over, we have to leave. After retrieving the third killing formation and capturing Yu-chan, the trip to the Fire Nation was complete. Xiaohao also planned to leave. As for the Fire Nation's affairs, the Fire Emperor was reassured. With the help of the Vermilion Bird Guardian Spirit, the two venerables were enough to suppress the situation. With a flap of their wings, the two of them took to the air, quickly returning to Stone Country. Xiaohao, did the sect retrieve the things left behind? Little Shirtu asked Xiaohao as he flew away. There are still some things in the medicine capital, but the Patriarch has other plans. He's not in a hurry to retrieve them. I've already taken care of things here, Xiaohao replied. Then, he looked at Yu-chan, who was in Little Shitta's hands, and asked, Do you really think of her as a maidservant? Haha. Isn't it just a joke? However, there's something strange about her. Little Shirtu looked at Yu-chan and chuckled. Little beauty, although you're not a bed warmer, you still need to warm the bed. Is it abnormal? Xiaohao nodded. Let's go back and interrogate him slowly. Not long after, the two of them arrived at the stone capital. Sure enough, there's something wrong. After returning to his residence, Xiaohao carefully examined Yu-chan. As expected, he discovered something strange about her. It seems to be very similar to Big Brother Undying's technique. This fellow is actually just a clone. Xiaohao and Little Stone immediately saw through her origins. Yu-chan's face was full of shock. This is Immortal Palace's secret technique. How did Immortal Palace? Bronze Immortal Palace? So it came from that place? The Bronze Immortal Palace and the Supreme Palace were old rivals. Hearing this name, Xiaohao's eyes flashed coldly. Brother Bumie said that he suffered a loss at the hands of Green Copper Immortal Hall. This technique should have been secretly learned by Green Copper Immortal Hall at that time. No wonder I found it familiar. So it's Big Brother Bumie's technique. Little Stone glanced at Yu-chan's body and nodded. The technique is incomplete. The clones have a primary and secondary structure. This means that this is just a secondary body. Little Stone looked at Yu-chan with a sinister smile. So you're so unlucky. You're just a secondary body. Wait until your secondary body's cultivation succeeds, then merge with it in one go. Your strength will greatly increase. This is indeed a good method. However, after merging, you as a secondary body will no longer exist. Are you willing? You also have a self. Are you willing to disappear like this? Little Stone's voice was like a devil's temptation. Young lady, I have a complete clone technique here. Once you cultivate it, there will be no primary or secondary structure. Seeing how pitiful you are, I'll help you. With a flick of his finger, a spiritual light entered Yu-chan's sea of consciousness. Little Stone passed Kuan Pringzi's complete clone technique to Yu-chan. Of course, this was not out of kindness. Kuan Pringzi had the body of a Kuan Pung. He was born with the body of a Kuan and a Pung. The other races did not have this characteristic. Once she cultivated this technique, there would naturally be two of her. The two of them both wanted to maintain their independence, but they also wanted to merge into one. This was an inevitable contradiction. Fighting with yourself, I think it will be quite interesting. Little Stone laughed loudly and threw Yu-chan aside. Truly a scoundrel. Yu-chan was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. Even though she clearly knew that Lord Wasteland did not have good intentions, she would still cultivate this technique. After all, she did not want to disappear. My parents are in the Immortal Mountain? I also have a younger brother? After interrogating the Immortal Mountain's messenger, Little Stone heard this news and tightly frowned. It's been so many years, yet my parents have never come to see me. Have they forgotten about me? A wave of sadness appeared in his heart. His eyes became a bit red. Little Stone suddenly felt extremely wronged. He was extremely sad. Grandfather is gone. Father and mother are not coming back either. Little Stone tightly clenched his fist. His heart could not calm down for a long time. Hong Long. At this time, a rumbling sound rang through the sky. A wave of vast and mighty aura shook the world. Ah! The heavens collapsed. The heavens split open. Countless cries of alarm sounded in all directions. Waves of cries sounded from Stone Country's capital. Has the great calamity finally arrived? After rushing out of the manor, Xiaohao and Little Stone raised their heads towards the horizon. They saw an enormous crack open in the sky, as if the entire sky was torn in half. From this crack, waves of boundless and majestic divine might that made the world tremble and the void tremble spread out. It was a divine might that overflowed into the heavens. Ha 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 ha. It's time to pick the great medicine of the mortal world again. It's time for the lower realm's hidden secrets to be revealed. Lower realm. Lower realm. A figure whose aura was boundless and majestic, as if even the void was going to explode, squeezed in bit by bit from the crack. Kacha. Kacha. The crack in the void opened up bit by bit. The figure that seemed to be even larger than the world finally squeezed out from the crack, appearing in the lower realm's 8 wastelands. Hong. Just a bit of aura was released, yet it scattered the winds and clouds in the sky, shaking the lower realm's 8 regions. One figure after another rushed out from the crack. A group of figures that even the heavens and earth could not contain suddenly appeared in the lower realm's 8 regions. Dang! A bronze bell let out a melodious sound that shook the heavens and earth. Hong. Half of a pure white giant tower pressed down on the void, causing waves of cracking sounds to erupt. Pick the great medicine of the mortal world and search for hidden opportunities. Do it. After so many years, the great medicine of the mortal world has grown again. It's flourishing. At this moment, the entire lower realm's 8 regions were trembling under this group of figures. The great calamity of the 8 regions had arrived. Chapter 652. The day of the sky change has arrived. When the great sects of the lower realm saw this scene, they were all wild with joy. The 2 brats of the desolate region, your great calamity is coming. Your backers, your reliance, they will all be destroyed. The entire 8 regions will fall into our hands. Different from the joy of the great sects, in the other parts of the 8 regions, the venerables who did not join the great sects were all pale, trembling. In front of these taboo characters of the lower realms, they were not even ants. Gods were not even dogs. They would be crushed to death with a wave of their hand. Everyone is here? Then I should also make my move. Liu chuckled and stood up when he saw the figures squeezing through the crack in the void, especially when he saw the bell and the half of the white pagoda. The current owner of the endless immortal bell is not an immortal king? Just as he was about to make his move, Liu suddenly discovered that the current owner of the endless immortal bell was not the character he expected. In the future, has the endless immortal bell changed owners? Seeing the figure holding the endless immortal bell, sensing this person's cultivation, Liu shook his head slightly. This person was only in the Void Dao realm, which was the realm of most of the sect masters of the 3,000 provinces in the upper realms, not the immortal king Liu expected. In the future, when Heavenly Emperor Huang was facing the immortal king tribulation, he was attacked by the immortal kings of the immortal domain and several life-forbidden zones, thus causing Heavenly Emperor Huang to die, buried in the ground for 500,000 years before recovering. Among the immortal kings who attacked, there was an immortal king from the life-forbidden zones, holding the endless immortal bell, even killing Yi Qingxian. The endless immortal bell must have fallen into the hands of that immortal king in the future. This discovery made Liu very surprised, but felt that this was normal. After all, how could an immortal king be in the same group as a group of Void Dao realm sect masters? In front of an immortal king, wouldn't these sect masters be killed with a breath? How could a group of Void Dao realm sect masters compete with an immortal king? However, the sect masters of the 3,000 provinces in the upper realms, with this bit of strength, actually besieged that Kuan Pering in the northern sea? They even besieged Willow Deity in the future? Liu blinked and shook his head with a smile. The so-called siege should be the 4 crippled immortals from the 3,000 continents of the upper realm. As for the other sect leaders, I'm afraid they'll just shout 666 from the side. The strength of these lower realm cult masters was so weak that it was out of Liyu's expectations. To Liu, these people weren't worth mentioning. However, to the people of the 8 regions, this was an unsolvable calamity. He's dead. He's dead. Within the lower realm's 8 regions, the supreme experts who didn't have the protection of great sects all had pale faces. They shivered in fear, feeling as if a great calamity was about to befall them. There was no path to heaven, no gate to the earth, no place to escape. Some of them roared angrily, some screamed unwillingly, and some begged bitterly. However, in front of the sect leader who had descended from the lower realm, these supremacies could only wait to be slaughtered. Just as the supremacies of the 8 realms were in despair, an unforeseen event occurred. At the beginning of the chaos, yin and yang appeared. Heaven and earth, black and yellow chi were born. At this moment, a long roar shook heaven and earth, and a mighty voice resounded through the clouds. Intertwining black and white light swept across heaven and earth, enveloping the entire 8 realms. In every corner of the 8 realms, one could see the Tai Chi yin-yang fish in the sky. Ah! What's going on? What is this? There's such an existence in the lower realms cage? In this black and white light that swept across heaven and earth, the sect leaders' clones from the lower realm were all imprisoned in the light, as if they were frozen and couldn't move at all. Boom! An earth-shattering boom exploded between heaven and earth. It was as if a continent had risen from the ground. A boundless figure covered the sky and the sun, enveloping the entire world. This was a boundless dragon turtle. Roar! The mountain-like head roared at the sky, and a huge sound wave swept across heaven and earth. What is that? The people of the lower realm were stunned when they saw this gigantic dragon turtle. What shocked them even more was that on the back of this gigantic dragon turtle, in front of the majestic and ancient palace, there was a white-clothed figure that emitted endless black and white light. Yin and yang intertwined, black and yellow evolved, the 5 elements reinforced and restrained each other, and the 8 trigrams circulated. Endless visions appeared on this figure. Compared to the dragon turtle's gigantic body, this figure was inconspicuous. However, everyone's eyes involuntarily gathered on this figure. It was as if he was the foundation of heaven and earth, the origin of all things. Who is this person? In the Stone City Marquee Manor, the great calamity had arrived. Yuchan was originally looking at Xiaohao and Huang proudly, planning to see them make a fool of themselves. She didn't expect such a terrifying existence to appear in the blink of an eye. This is my sect's ancestor. Xiaohao glanced at Yuchan and chuckled. Heaven-mending sect, haha, compared to our sect, it's not even worthy of carrying our shoes. That could it be the Supreme Hall? You came from the Supreme Hall. Thinking back to the legends of the upper realm, Yuchan's face turned pale, and her entire body trembled. No wonder they were so powerful and didn't care about the great calamity of the lower realm. It was the Supreme Hall. The Supreme Hall, in the legends of the upper realm, was an existence comparable to the Bronze Immortal Palace. So powerful. Really too powerful. Is this what Taihao and Xiaohao are relying on? Stone Country's human emperor's face was full of shock, and then a burst of ecstasy appeared. Stone Country has no more worries. My heavens! Within the imperial palace of the Fire Nation, the Fire Emperor looked at the gigantic dragon turtle and the figure that had manifested countless strange phenomena. He was so shocked that his jaw dropped. This is the sect that Xiaohao was talking about? It's too terrifying. Compared to the people of the 8 regions, These sect masters who had incarnated in the lower realm were even more shocked. Supreme Hall. How is this possible? How can the Supreme Hall still exist? How can there still be people from the Supreme Hall here? Liu rode on Dragon Son Baxia and showed himself, scaring these sect masters who had incarnated in the lower realm. They had come to the lower realm to collect great herbs and search for the Supreme Hall's true primordial record transcendence chapter. These people were so presumptuous because they thought that there was no one in the Supreme Hall. Now, not only was the Supreme Hall's old turtle still there, but even more frightening was that there were even more powerful people in the Supreme Hall. This was completely beyond his imagination and beyond his expectations. It's over. It's over. After being imprisoned by the Yin and Yang Qi, these sect masters were already scared out of their wit. Thus, under the shocked and confused gazes of the people of the 8 regions, these sect masters from the lower realm were all lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Baxia, I'll leave it to you. After imprisoning these sect master incarnations, Liu was too lazy to do anything, and directly let Dragon Son Baxia do it. Crack! The dragon turtle's gigantic dragon mouth bit down, and a sect master incarnation was instantly annihilated. Bang! A giant claw raised, and a sect master incarnation was crushed to pieces. Roar! A furious roar. The mighty sound wave directly shattered a group of sect master incarnations in front of it. It swept through the 8 regions, and no one was its match. No matter which sect master it was, no matter what divine ability or supreme treasure they were all crushed in one move. It was terrifying and unstoppable. That's my pagoda. Be careful, don't break it. Seeing the dragon turtle's claw hit the white pagoda, the small pagoda hanging on Little Stone's waist cried out in pain. Fortunately, the white pagoda was an immortal artifact, and it did not suffer much damage from the claw. On the other hand, the so-called master of the White Pagoda was destroyed in one move. Clang! The claw hit the endless bell of immortality. The bell was also undamaged, but the incarnation of the immortal bell's master was directly shattered into pieces. The 9th killing formation and the first spiritual root have to be taken back. After Dragon Son Baxia destroyed all the sect master incarnations, Liu turned to look at the medicine capital. With a wave of his hand, 3 streams of light flew up and landed in Liu's hand. The first spiritual root, the bone fragment of the 9th killing formation, and the bronze box containing the monarch butterfly were all collected. After collecting them, Liu gently waved his hand, an array of light flashed. The gigantic dragon turtle, the avatar that covered the sky, and the figure that seemed to be the origin of heaven and earth instantly disappeared. At this point, the calamity of the 8 regions was over. Under the horrified gazes of countless people, the sect master incarnations that had just descended to the lower realm were destroyed before they could harm the world. The calamity is over? Countless venerables who were trembling in fear immediately burst into tears of joy and burst into laughter. Who is this person? How can he be so terrifying? The people of the 8 regions were completely dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Today, the 3 chapters will be published together, and it will be released next week. Currently, the draft is being saved. Please wait a moment. Chapter 653. The 8 regions' great calamity was thus quelled. However, the effects of this matter didn't calm down. With such a terrifying existence in the 8 regions, regardless of whether it was the sect masters of the higher realms or the 8 regions' great sects, they were all scared silly. No one dared to make any strange movement. The 8 regions were already taboo. No one dared to even mention them. Xian region's Immortal Mountain's attitude took a 180-degree turn. A group of direct descendants of the Qin family surrounded Little Shida's parents and his younger brother, Qin Hao. They respectfully came to Stone City to visit their relative. They were very humble and didn't even dare to breathe loudly in front of Little Shirtu. They were relatives in the end. After Little Stone reunited with his parents, he was overjoyed, so he didn't make things difficult for them. At this time, it's time to head to the higher realms. After casually sweeping through these lower realm sect master incarnations, Liu didn't return underground, instead arriving at another place. The lower realm's 8 regions actually have many good things. Liu looked at the first spiritual root and the bronze case containing the Emperor Butterfly, nodding with a smile. The Emperor Butterfly is the ruler of 10,000 bugs. Apart from being a bit inferior to the heavenly horned ant and goo race, its potential is extremely unordinary. Once the Emperor Butterfly was nurtured, it would be quite useful in the future. However, this wasn't what Liu was focused on. After putting away the Emperor Butterfly, Liu looked at the first spiritual root in his hands with a smile that wasn't a smile. Legend has it that there was an exceptional expert who, for the sake of breaking through, cut himself into 6 parts, sealing them into 6 different immortal roots in hopes of breaking through into the immortal king realm. The small tree in his hand had 3 branches, each of which had a flower growing on it. There was a vague figure on the flower that was comprehending the Tao. Fake medicine seller, this title really makes me speechless. With a wave of his hand, he put away the first spiritual root. 1/6 of the fake medicine seller was sleeping within the first spiritual root, not waking up yet. It didn't even have the ability to resist. Of course, even if it woke up, even if it was only 1/6, it still wouldn't be able to escape from Liu's hands. The first spiritual root was a stalk of long-life immortal medicine. A single drop of medicinal liquid could bring back the dead. Eating it in its entirety could allow one to become an immortal. Liu naturally had no reason to let go of such a treasure. Moreover, a part of the immortal king who sold the fake medicine was still in the first spiritual root. Now that he was in Liu's hands, he naturally wanted to squeeze every last bit of value out of him. It was impossible for him to let him go so easily. 8 million li away from Stone Capital, in a mountain range, there is a true dragon lair. Liu looked at the mountain range in front of him and sensed that there was a small space under the mountain range. He smiled and nodded. True dragon lair. Xiao Chen stepped forward and entered a cave at the bottom of a cliff. An indistinct light screen blocked his path, vaguely emitting a vast dragon might that surpassed all living things. The leader of the primordial vicious 10, the strongest race in the world, true dragon. When Liu's divine soul touched the light screen, he discovered that there was a protective force left behind by an immortal king realm true dragon. Although I can still force my way in, I am here to trick people, so I naturally can't be so rude. A purple gold light flashed as Liu used the true dragon transformation that he hadn't used in a long time. Dragon horns grew on his head, a head full of purple gold hair, and his eyes shone with a brilliant golden light. You must know that I was also the Dragon Emperor back then. Liu had once transformed into the ancestral dragon and tricked countless dragons on Dragon Island. In that era, he had even captured the Dragon Emperor of the nest of 10,000 dragons into the resource storehouse. After analyzing the bloodline, Liu's true dragon transformation was no different from the true dragons of this world. Ong! A dragon's roar rang out. Liu transformed into a true dragon and released his own true dragon aura. Ong! A surprised dragon roar sounded from the light screen. In the blink of an eye, the light screen opened, revealing a golden path. There's only one imprint left, and there's no chance of saving it. Feeling the dragon's roar, Liu sighed, walked through the light screen, and entered the dragon's lair. In front of him, there was a huge true dragon's nest, flickering with endless divine radiance. Above the dragon's nest, there were 3 dragon eggs that were about 3 feet tall, blooming with streams of light. Above the dragon's nest, there was a huge dragon horn that looked like a pillar that reached the heavens. There's actually someone from the same clan alive? That's great. Above the dragon horn, a ray of light burst out, and the shadow of a true dragon appeared above the dragon horn. although its aura was vast, but this dragon's shadow was very illusory, as if it could dissipate at any time. My clansmen, please help me take care of my children. The dragon's shadow floated up and turned its head to look at the 3 dragon eggs in the dragon's nest. Its eyes were filled with endless longing and deep sorrow. Although there were 3 dragon eggs, only one of them still had life. The other 2 were already dead. I'll take care of them. Liu nodded his head, then turned his head to look at those 3 dragon eggs, and let out a sigh. This child that's still alive, I'll use the true dragon's blood to replenish his missing source. As for those 2, I'll also try my best to save them. Those 2, a look of sorrow appeared in Dragon Shadow's eyes, and it shook its head. Even if I use the immortal longevity medicine and Yang returning grass, it might not be able to save them. The true dragon is already about to go extinct. Every child is a treasure. Until the end, I won't give up. Liu's face was resolute, as if he was really going to do his best to save those 2 dead dragon eggs. In reality, Liu could completely revive these 2 dragon eggs like the Koan Pung egg. Many thanks. Dragon Shadow nodded its head gratefully. My clansmen, I'm just a remnant thought imprint. Now that my obsession has disappeared, it's about to dissipate. My clansmen, goodbye. Rays of light exploded like fireworks, and in an instant, the dragon's shadow disappeared. True dragon sigh. The battle of Immortal Ancient was incomparably tragic. Even the immortal kings had fallen, and even the world had been shattered. Liu sighed, and with a wave of his hand, he kept the 3 dragon eggs in the dragon nest. This dragon horn is a remnant of the immortal king-level true dragon. Its essence is extraordinary. With a wave of his hand, Liu also kept the dragon horn. Let's hatch the 3 true dragons first. After letting the system decompose a darkness immortal general, Liu recreated the 2 dead dragon eggs, according to the method of saving the Kuan Pung. The dragon egg that still had life force was also completely replenished. As the 5-colored light circulated, the 3 true dragons appeared. Come out! With a wave of his hand, the 3 little dragons were released. Liu patted the heads of the 3 little dragons. My name is Yu, the monarch of dragons. From today onwards, you will follow me. Yes. The 3 little dragons circled around Liu. Their bloodline instincts made them very close to Liu. I still have things to do now, so I'll send you to a place to settle down. There are still 3 little Kuan Pungs there, so don't fight. Liu waved his hand, broke open space, and sent the 3 little dragons into Stone Village. The 3 little dragons broke through space and fell into the demonic spirit lake. Their innate ability to control water caused them to raise huge waves in the lake. Those are true dragons? Koan Pringzi, who was playing with his younger brothers and sisters, was dumbfounded when he saw the 3 little dragons descending from the sky. They were also saved by the Grand Empyrean? Even the true dragons were sent over? Is the Grand Empyrean going to reappear the immemorial Vicious 10? Willow Deity glanced at Stone Village. Including the divine striking stone, Kuan Pung, and these 3 true dragons, Stone Village had 3 types of the immemorial Vicious 10. If the immemorial Vicious 10 really reappeared in Stone Village, how terrifying would this village be? Chapter 654. Kuan Pungzi, help me take care of the 3 little dragons. Liu sent a message to Kuan Pungzi, and then he strode towards the mystic region. All right, I am really here to take care of the kids. Kuan Pungzi looked at the 3 little Kuan Pungs and the 3 little dragons and shook his head with a bitter smile. Liu did not have time to care about Kuan Pungzi's frustration. Liu stepped out and broke through the void. He appeared in the dark domain instantly. There is a chaotic secret realm hidden in the dark domain. There is a golden sacred tree that is about to evolve into a tree of world. This place is very valuable. To Liu, the most important thing was the laws of heaven and earth. Analyzing the laws of heaven and earth, merging them into one, returning to the origin, turning into chaos, forming the origin of all space-time and everything. The Tree of World was the object that carried the laws of a world. Liu had obtained a branch of the Tree of World previously. However, the Tree of World had been destroyed and the laws of heaven and earth that it carried had dissipated. Only the laws of wood and space were left. Now, the golden sacred tree in the chaotic secret realm was a living golden sacred tree that was about to evolve into a Tree of World. Liu naturally wanted to take advantage of such a guy. The chaotic secret realm is hidden in the void and usually does not appear in the world. I have to look for it carefully. Liu released his divine soul and split it into billions of divine soul to cover the entire dark domain. He carefully searched every inch of space. Found it. After discovering the chaotic secret realm in the void, Liu quickly locked onto the target. His body turned into a crystal clear light and silently merged into the void. Liu passed through the void and entered the secret realm. It was a small world. Although it was only a small world compared to a big world like Jotianshidi. However, this small world also had a vast territory. There were tall mountains in the distance and the majestic mountain range stretched for thousands of miles. The land was vast and the sea was vast. The sky was vast and the ground was boundless. In the mountains in the distance, a huge golden tree stood tall, emitting endless golden light. It seemed to cover the entire sky and also seemed to support the entire world. That must be the Golden World Tree. Looking up at the incomparably huge tree in the distance, he saw that the leaves seemed to be condensed with countless stars. Endless laws intertwined, revealing a mysterious and unfathomable aura. Liu praised in his heart, even though it hasn't truly evolved to the level of a world tree, it still has such an aura. It is indeed extraordinary. Croak, croak, crows cawed. A flock of golden crows spread their wings and flew around the world tree amidst the golden flames that filled the sky. So it's the Fusang tree. Seeing this group of golden crows, Liu immediately knew the origin of this golden sacred tree. I see. Just like how a carp can transform into a dragon, these divine trees can all evolve into the builder tree. They all have the possibility of evolving into the world tree. There are so many golden crows in this small world. The golden crows were not ordinary creatures. They were the supreme beings of the way of fire that had transformed into the sun. Liu scanned with his divine soul and found that the bloodline of these golden crows was not pure. Liu released his divine soul and sensed the situation in this small world. Soon, he found the reason. There were countless fire crows in this small world. These golden crows near the Fusang tree must have been stimulated by the aura of the Fusang tree and evolved from fire crows. It was not strange that their bloodline was not pure. These golden crows are probably guarding the Fusang tree. Liu smiled. His figure flashed, and his entire body turned into nothingness. He silently floated near the Fusang tree without alerting the golden crows. It is already considered a quasi-world tree. Unfortunately, only when you become a real world tree can you bear all the ways in one body. For now, I can't use this Fusang tree to analyze the world's rules. Liu glanced at the Fusang tree and nodded. He flicked his finger and a spiritual light silently fell into the Fusang tree. I'll put a monitor on you. When you become a world tree, I can analyze the rules of heaven and earth. He was not in a hurry to collect the world's rules. He would leave a backup plan. When the time came, he would naturally reap the rewards. There is an ancient palace at the top of the Fusang tree. There are many good things in there. Liu rose into the air and silently drifted to the top of the Fuso tree. On the top of the Fusang tree, there was an ancient and mysterious palace on a huge tree branch. Beside the palace, there was a pitch-black mountain. This mountain, Liu had planned to go to the ancient palace. When he was about to walk, he suddenly discovered the strangeness of this black mountain. On this black mountain, there was a mysterious aura of the universe and the universe. It was as if This mountain was a huge world. Is this a world stone? A world stone as huge as a mountain? Even with Li Yu's knowledge, he was shocked. In this world, there was a peerless divine item. It was called a world stone. The world stone was a type of divine item that was formed after a world was destroyed. It was like the sarira left behind by a senior monk after he had undergone nirvana. A world stone was the sarira left behind by a world after it had undergone nirvana. Ordinary world stones only had a radius of 10 feet at most. A world stone the size of a mountain. What kind of terrifying world had it been when it was destroyed into nothingness? Even a world like Jyotian Shitty didn't have such a big world stone after it was destroyed. This is an unexpected gain. If news of a world stone as huge as a mountain got out, countless immortal kings would fight over it. If such a divine item was refined into a divine weapon, its power would be unimaginably strong. Of course, to Li Yu, the gain was not the world stone itself. When a world is destroyed, the rules of heaven and earth are also condensed in the world stone. To be able to obtain the rules of heaven and earth of a world here, what a pleasant surprise! Taking a step forward, Li Yu's figure instantly appeared on the mountain formed by the world stone. A bright smile appeared on his face. Divine splits analyzed the rules. Pressing his hand against the mountain, Li Yu released his divine sense. Divine splits rushed into the mountain formed from the world stone. The flowing divine splits technique allowed one to create billions of divine split. More importantly, the strength of each divine splits was no weaker than the main body's soul. This was equivalent to billions of Li Yu appearing in an instant. Billions of Li Yu were fully focused on analyzing the rules of heaven and earth within the world stone. Even with billions of divine splits, even with Li Yu's Book of Changes and the future Master's Tao of Divination, it still took him a day and a night to collect the rules of heaven and earth within the world stone. Phew! After releasing a long breath, endless irregular scenes swirled before Li Yu's eyes. From the beginning of heaven and earth, to the flourishing of heaven and earth, and then to the destruction of heaven and earth. Turns out, this is a world that was destroyed countless great eras ago in the chaos of darkness. This was a world even more vast than the 9 heavens 10 earths, to the extent where it was even more vast than a mortal domain and the other side. However, it was similarly destroyed in a chaos of darkness. The source of darkness, starting ground. There were 4 half-immortal emperors there, as well as a darkness immortal emperor. They destroyed countless worlds. Realm C was formed precisely from the convergence of countless destroyed worlds. These people had brought disaster to this world for countless years since the ancient times. They destroyed countless worlds, buried countless great eras. That is why I am going to end all of this. A wave of ice-cold killing intent appeared in Li Yu's eyes. Chapter 655. With the laws of heaven and earth in hand, the world stone is already in my hands. A speck of spiritual light blossomed from his fingertip, and he pointed at the mountain-like world stone. The laws of Tao connected, and the huge mountain trembled with a hum before erupting with boundless light. With a boom, the world stone soared into the sky. Within the boundless light, the world stone continued to shrink until it turned into a palm-sized mountain and fell into Li Yu's hand. Good stuff. I just need to refine it and it'll become a supreme treasure. Li Yu nodded with a smile and put away the world stone with a flick of his sleeve. After arriving at the top of the fuso tree, the noisy golden crows were all below and unable to come up. Li Yu's figure emerged from the void. Whoosh! At this moment, a branch of the fuso tree shook violently and began to wriggle like a huge golden dragon. Clearly, Li Yu's action of putting away the world stone had alerted a certain existence. On this wriggling branch, a huge golden flower burst forth with dazzling light and slowly bloomed. The petals of the lotus blossomed one by one, and within the stamen of the lotus platform, A young girl with a head full of golden hair opened a pair of flashing golden eyes. "Who are you?" "Senior, you're—" The golden-haired girl was just about to scold him when she suddenly sensed Li Yu's aura and was startled. She hurriedly lowered her posture. "I'm Grand Supreme." Li Yu nodded at the golden-haired girl. "I happened to pass by this place and discovered that there was a world stone on this fuso tree, so I put it away. I didn't expect it to have an owner. My apologies." Li Yu said this, but he had no intention of returning the world stone. It would be difficult to return such a supreme treasure once it entered Li Yu's pocket. This world stone was also obtained by the fuso tree from the void, so it doesn't belong to me. The golden-haired girl shook her head with a smile and stood up to bow to Li Yu. "Greetings, Grand Supreme. I am Jin Yuan." So it's a prodigy of the Golden Crow clan. At this time, Li Yu also recognized the golden-haired woman. She was a pure-blood golden crow. "I don't dare to call myself a prodigy. This little girl has been sealed by my ancestor until now. Several epochs have passed, and the world has changed." The golden-haired girl, Jin Yuan, sighed, and her eyes revealed an expression of reminiscence. "So you are a descendant of a famous sect from the age of Emperor Kalap." Li Yu smiled and nodded. "No wonder you were born with the Fusang tree. This kind of spending was indeed extraordinary. When the Fuso tree becomes a world tree, you can also achieve the immortal Tao in one fell swoop. Bearing all the Taos and then transcending is also a righteous path. Although it was extraordinary, the disadvantages of this path were just as great as its advantages. However, if you want to transcend, you will need great willpower, great wisdom, and great courage." Li Yu smiled. "Well, it's fate that brought us together. I took the world stone and formed karma with you. I'll give you something to end this karma." With a flick of his finger, a jade talisman fell into the golden-haired girl's hand. "In the future, when the Fusang tree becomes a world tree and bears all the Taos, you will also bear all the Taos. When you plan to transcend all the Taos, you can use this talisman. It can help you." Alright, Li Yu was tricking her again. In fact, it was not too bad. When the golden-haired girl was about to transcend all the Taos, she could use this talisman to sweep all the Taos clean and naturally escape from the Taos. At that time, another set of heaven and earth laws would be in her hand. Although when the Fusang tree became a world tree, Li Yu would also gain something. However, this girl was born with the Fusang tree. Would it cause the two of them to split the Taos equally when they bore all the Taos? In order to obtain the complete set of heaven and earth laws, Li Yu naturally had to ensure that nothing would go wrong. "Thank you, Grand Supreme Senior." The golden-haired girl hurriedly bowed in gratitude. A talisman given by an immortal king was extremely precious. This girl had an extraordinary background and naturally knew the weight of an immortal king. "In your ancient palace, there is an item from my sect. I need to take it back." Li Yu smiled at the golden-haired girl and waved his hand. From the ancient palace in front of him, a bone plate that looked like white jade was taken out. "Grand Supreme Senior, is this an item of your sect? The creation that the Celestial Emperor did not obtain is actually an item of your sect?" When the golden-haired girl saw the bone plate, she looked at Li Yu in surprise. "Senior, I just woke up not long ago. I don't know when this bone plate appeared in the ancient palace. I can't see what is recorded in the bone plate at all. My sect has an inherited cultivation technique. Back then, after I left, there was an unforeseen event in the sect. We encountered a great enemy, causing the inheritance to be lost outside. Now I can take it back." Li Yu looked at the bone plate in his hand and saw a line of words appear on the bone plate. "The Celestial Emperor did not obtain the creation. Your realm is not enough, so you naturally can't see it. If you don't become an immortal, you can't see the contents inside." With a wave of his hand, Li Yu put away the bone plate. Li Yu's words were not completely a bluff. This bone plate was the third section of the true primordial record, the ultimate section. According to its original trajectory, this bone plate flew through the air amidst everyone's fighting and drifted outside. In the end, it landed in the land of origin and turned into a bone tablet. The God's Guidance section of the True Primordial Record, including the Myriad Spirit Diagram, described the principles of talismans. The middle section, the Transcendence section, described the method to become an immortal. The lower section, the Ultimate section, described the method to become an immortal king all the way to becoming a quasi-immortal emperor. This was the supreme scripture of the present age. In the original trajectory, Heaven Emperor Huang only saw the ultimate section when he became a quasi-immortal emperor. At that time, it was already worthless. However, the ultimate section now had great value in Li Yu's hands. Although everyone's path was different, the true primordial record never had a specific cultivation method or path. It only described the principles. This was a great Tao that used talismans to analyze the laws of heaven and earth, and ultimately created their own talismans and laws. There was no specific cultivation method, only the principles of the great Tao. This kind of principled thing was very suitable for Li Yu to use as a reference. Since it belongs to Senior's sect, Senior can take it back. The golden-haired girl did not doubt Li Yu's words. This was an immortal king. In front of an immortal king, the golden-haired girl was simply an ant that could be exterminated with a breath. Was there a need to lie? In reality, Li Yu was not lying. The first two sections of the true primordial record belonged to the Supreme Hall. As for the third section, Li Yu naturally belonged to the Supreme Hall. Sorry for the disturbance. Since that is the case, I will take my leave. Nodding with a smile, Li Yu's figure blurred and disappeared without a trace. This small world is really a place where supreme treasures are gathered. At the edge of the small world, in the midst of chaos, Li Yu found a bone gate floating in the chaos. The primordial gate, the teleportation gate that leads to the realm sea. Of course I have to take this thing. He reached out and grabbed the primordial gate. With a wave of his hand, he put it away into the resource vault. At this point, the primordial chaos secret realm was searched. There was a problem with the scheduled update. Sorry. Chapter 656. I'm about to leave the lower realm. There are still a few things I need to obtain. After leaving the chaotic secret realm, Li Yu broke through the void and returned to the waste region. The divine mountain of Xiling. There are still 3 old fellows who are not completely dead. After silently entering the divine mountain of Xiling, Li Yu walked into a cave and arrived at a world between reality and illusion. The Xiling realm. Some creatures who had fallen into darkness intended to erode the void god realm and release the dark immortal kings sealed in the sealed land. That was why they had constructed a world between reality and illusion. Li Yu walked into the Xiling realm. With his strength as an immortal king, he only released a trace of his aura, and it was enough to make those ferocious beasts tremble in fear. As he walked, Li Yu saw an altar on a cliff. There were 4 items on the altar: a crystal skull, a golden bone claw, a silver eyeball, and a white bone plate. 3 old fellows who are not completely dead, and the true primordial record's myriad spirit diagram. Li Yu smiled. He reached out his hand and grabbed the 4 items. Fellow Taoist, you have no karma with us. Why did you disturb our slumber? The skull, bone claw, and eyeball all asked Li Yu. There is indeed no karma. Li Yu nodded with a smile. I just saw that the 3 of you didn't seem to be completely dead, so I wanted to try and see if I could revive you. Revive? The 3 old monsters cried out in surprise, and then let out a long sigh. Thank you for your kindness, fellow Taoists. We are only left with a wisp of remnant soul. How can we revive with only this little bit of body left? Haha. Since you are all dead, let me try. If it succeeds, it will be good for you. If it doesn't work, you are all dead anyway. What else can you lose? Haha. Fellow Taoist, you are right. Fellow Taoists, do as you wish. Although I don't have much hope, but what if it works? As soon as Li Yu finished speaking, the three remnant souls agreed without hesitation. If that's the case, then the three of you will try it with I. With a wave of his hand, he stored the three remains and the myriad spirit diagram bone plate into the resource vault. If these three fellows can be resurrected, they will have three more immortal king-level battle prowess. Although resurrecting them will consume a lot of resources, the investment is worth it. With an idea in mind, Li Yu walked out of the Western Tomb Realm, broke through the void, and instantly arrived at the Heaven Realm of the Eight Realms. If I didn't already know about it, I would never have imagined that there would be so many treasures and divine items in the lower realms that would drive people crazy. Walking to the boundary of the Heaven domain, Li Yu looked up at the sky and saw a mysterious place hidden in the void. There's even a life forbidden zone in a place like the lower realm? What a joke! Breaking through the void, Li Yu took a step forward and arrived at this mysterious land. This was a holy land shrouded in endless chaos. The vast and mighty lake was sparkling with light. Every ripple was formed by time and space. Starlight shone in the lake. These starlight bloomed from the bottom of the lake, because every grain of sand at the bottom of the lake was a star. This was a universe lake. Turning a part of the universe into a lake, this kind of wealth was simply too shocking. Behind the universe lake, there was a divine mountain. On top of the dazzling godly mountain, there was a palace made of 5-colored immortal gold that was emitting a boundless light. 5-colored immortal gold, this was a divine material used to refine immortal artifacts. A palm-sized piece of 5-colored immortal gold would make the sect masters of the 3,000 provinces of the upper realm go crazy. Now, the master of the Forbidden Zone was actually using 5-colored immortal gold to build a house. Who dares to spy on the life Forbidden Zone? Those who offend the Forbidden Zone can only atone for their crimes with death. A mighty figure appeared, his enormous aura shaking heaven and earth. Tong don't be rude. At this time, an extraordinarily handsome figure wearing a white robe stepped out of the immortal gold Great Hall. This person reprimanded the boy, then looked at Li Yu with a smile on his face, cupping his hands in greeting. Fellow Taoist, it's an honor to visit. Sigh. Li Yu sighed and shook his head. With your cultivation, you actually also fell to this extent. This kind of illusion, better put it away. In Li Yu's eyes, this holy land had long turned into ruins. The sparkling universe lake had long dried up. The majestic divine mountain had already collapsed, the 5-colored immortal gold palace had already turned into ashes. The entire land did not have a trace of life, completely a ruined wasteland. I didn't deliberately cast a spell. It's just that I missed the scene of the past and unconsciously evolved a mental illusion. I've made a joke of myself in front of fellow Taoists. The master of the Forbidden Zone smiled and nodded at Li Yu, reaching out his hand and leading, fellow Taoist, this way please. Mental illusion, evolving a permanent illusion. Fellow Taoist's cultivation is indeed extraordinary. Worthy of being someone who slaughtered your way back from Realm C. Li Yu nodded in praise. This master of the Forbidden Zone was extremely extraordinary. He taught 9 people, 8 of them becoming immortal kings. In the original timeline, the Forbidden Zone Lord had also taught Heavenly Emperor Huang, a peerless expert. Unfortunately, he was also already dead. Only a wisp of remnant soul and a skull remained. I was beaten until I only had 1 breath left. I just fled back. Moreover, I still died in the end. With fellow Taoist's cultivation realm, it can't be that you can't tell that I already only have a wisp of remnant soul left, right? The Forbidden Zone Lord sighed, shaking his head. Did fellow Taoist cross Realm C back then? Did you step onto the dam and enter the starting ground? Li Yu followed the Forbidden Zone Lord, crossing Universe Lake, arriving at the immortal gold Great Hall that had already turned into ruins. Fellow Taoist, please sit. Sitting down in the ruins, the Forbidden Zone Lord picked up a teapot, pouring tea for Li Yu while replying, "I had just stepped onto the opposite shore when my immortal body was shattered by someone's strike." The Forbidden Zone Lord handed the teacup to Li Yu, letting out a sigh. "I struggled to flee back, but discovered that I had long been corroded by darkness, my divine soul and body already destroyed. In the end, I could only kill myself, leaving behind a wisp of remnant soul and a skull. Actually, I've already died long ago. What's left behind now is merely a wisp of remnant soul. Suffered a half-immortal emperor's strike, yet could still flee back. Fellow Daoist strength is indeed extraordinary." Li Yu praised the Forbidden Zone Lord endlessly. This was indeed from the bottom of his heart, not flattering at all. Immortal King Realm and half-immortal Emperor Realm were simply the difference between heaven and earth. Under a half-immortal Emperor's strike, immortal kings didn't have the slightest strength to resist at all. What's the use? If you don't become an emperor, you're still an ant in the end. The Forbidden Zone Lord picked up the teacup, making a tea invitation gesture towards Li Yu. "Fellow Daoist, I already have nothing left on me, only this cup of tea can still be tasted. Fellow Daoist, please." "Good tea." The tea entered his mouth, unspeakably bitter. For a moment it was too bitter to speak. Although the tea leaves were like phoenixes soaring in the sky in the cup, miraculous and extraordinary. But the taste of this tea was unbearably bitter. But this was indeed a good tea. Drinking this cup of tea made Li Yu seemingly see the universe in ruins, all things withering, all life dying. It was not the tea that was bitter, but all life was bitter. All life is bitter. This world is destroyed again and again, one epoch after another reincarnating. Just like this cup of tea, unspeakably bitter. The Forbidden Zone Lord let out a long sigh. "This world is the darkest, everything will be destroyed. I've struggled until now, but I still can't see hope." "No. I've already found hope." Li Yu raised his eyes to look at the Forbidden Zone Lord. "I've already found hope. Fellow Daoist, I'll revive you. For this hope, fight one more time." "Revive?" The Forbidden Zone Lord stared at Li Yu, his two eyes staring straight. "You want to revive me? This shouldn't be possible, right?" "I want to try." Li Yu looked at the Forbidden Zone Lord with a face full of smiles. If he revived the Forbidden Zone Lord, plus Western Tomb Realm's 3 old monsters, as well as Void God Realm's Bird Lord and Coin Elder, plus Li Yu and Willow Deity, 8 immortal kings joining forces could suppress the world for many years. Chapter 657. All that's left of me is a remnant soul and a skull. There's no chance of me being resurrected. The Lord of the Forbidden Zone sighed and shook his head at Li Yu. "Even if you have a divine item, even if you have the 3 life herbs or the 9 revolutions yang grass, you won't be able to save me. Fellow Daoist, apart from you, I've found a few other people." Li Yu reached out and released the crystal skull, the golden bone claw, and the silver eyeball. "These 3 are the same as me?" The Lord of the Forbidden Zone looked at the 3 remains and smiled at Li Yu. "It seems like you're confident. The 3 of them are inferior to you. At least you can conjure a phantom, but they can't even conjure a shadow." Li Yu reached out and held the crystal skull in his hand. "I have some knowledge of the Tao of creation. I also have a supreme divine item that controls the power of creation. I want to give it a try." "Ha. Fellow Daoist, feel free to try. I'm already dead anyway. What's there to be afraid of?" The crystal skull laughed and answered straightforwardly. "In that case, I'll try my best." With a wave of his hand, 5 colored lights surged and a huge cauldron phantom appeared in front of Li Yu. "This is I's supreme treasure, the cauldron of creation." He formed a series of hand seals and the 5-colored cauldron opened. The crystal skull flew out and entered the cauldron. Heaven and earth as the cauldron, creation as the workmanship, yin and yang as the charcoal, and all things as the copper. With a long roar, the five-colored cauldron burst out with light that filled the sky. Endless phenomena flowed, and a vast vitality rose. At the beginning of chaos, yin and yang manifested, heaven and earth surged, the five elements created and restrained each other, the 8 trigrams circulated, and all things were born. It was like the foundation of heaven and earth, the beginning of all things, the origin of all living beings. Fellow Taoist, you are indeed unfathomable. Such a scene of creation is simply unheard of. When such a phenomenon appeared, the Lord of the Forbidden Zone stood up in shock. The golden bone claw and silver eyeball also jumped up. All right, this was all a bluff. What cauldron of creation? Wasn't it just the system resource vault? As for the scene of creation, it was real. It was Li Yu's Xian Wang Qi and Yin Yang Qi. It was precisely because this was Li Yu's own Tao that in the eyes of the master of the Forbidden Zone and the others, Li Yu's so-called control of good fortune was completely true. Could it be that he can really be resurrected? The Lord of the Forbidden Zone stared at the cauldron of creation without blinking. System: decompose a dark immortal king and extract all of his immortal energy to reconstruct the crystal skull's body and divine soul. This was Li Yu's resurrection plan. How could a wisp of remnant soul and a piece of remnant bone be truly revived? The only way was to recreate them, just like the Kuan Peng's egg and the dragon's egg. As the multicolored light swirled, the crystal skull instantly disintegrated. Then, a majestic life force gushed in, reshaping and reconstructing it according to the information of the body and soul that the system had scanned. This process lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. In fact, the system's reconstruction process was very fast. It could be completed in a moment. However, this terrifying resurrection speed was too unimaginable. It only aroused their suspicions. After 3 days and 3 nights of refining, Li Yu wiped the sweat off his forehead. A smile appeared on his tired face. It's done. The resurrection is a success. He performed a series of hand seals. The heavenly technique of the 6 paths of reincarnation was unleashed. Endless scenes of reincarnation appeared. Open the cauldron. A spiritual light shot out. The cauldron of heaven and earth shook violently, and the lid opened. Light swirled in the sky. Endless avatars lingered in the air. A tall figure rushed out of the cauldron with a whoosh. As the light swirled, it turned into a Taoist robe. A young man around the age of 20 appeared in front of everyone. Huh? It can really be resurrected? It can really be resurrected? The master of the Forbidden Zone, the golden arm bone, and the silver eye screamed in shock. A wisp of remnant soul and a piece of remnant bone could really be resurrected? At this moment, everyone's hearts were burning with passion. Who would want to die if they could live? The chance to be resurrected was right in front of them. How could they not be excited? Disciple Chongming greets Master. At this moment, the young man in the Taoist robe, who was resurrected by the crystal skull, knelt before Li Yu with tears in his eyes. Rise. Li Yu nodded with a smile. He reached out his hand to help this so-called Taoist Chongming up. It seems like your soul and memory have all recovered. My journey to the world to collect your remnant soul was not in vain. I have completely recovered. Thank you for your kindness, Master. Taoist Chongming cried emotionally. He turned around to look at the golden arm bone and the silver eye. Tears rolled down his cheeks again. This is Senior Brother Chongyun and Junior Sister Chongling? You are also Senior Brother Chongyun? Me? The golden arm bone trembled. I am only a remnant soul. My memory is incomplete. I don't know. I am Junior Sister Chongling? We are from the same sect? We are both Master's disciples? The silver eyeball also shook as it cried out in alarm. For the sake of reviving you, Master has gathered your remnant souls from the last phase of Immortal Ancient until now. When he spoke up to hear, Li Yu released a long sigh. Back then, if not for Master being trapped in the realm sea, unable to return in time, you wouldn't have fallen to your current state. Master, for the sake of quelling the chaos of the darkness, rushed through the world. How can this disciple blame Master? Taoist Chongming shook his head. When the darkness descended, we fought with everything we had, but in the end we were outnumbered. We have lost face for Master. Last time we failed. This time, you have returned again. Master will bring you all together to sweep through the world. Li Yu's face was full of determination, heroic spirit rushing into the heavens. We will follow Master's lead. Taoist Chongming replied loudly, his aura surging into the heavens. Come. Master will revive you all. In this world, we will fight the world again. With a wave of his hand, Li Yu collected the golden hand bone into the natural fortune furnace. Another 3 days and 3 nights later, a tall and strong figure with bulging muscles and skin that seemed to be cast from gold walked out of the natural fortune furnace with rumbling sounds. Disciple Chongyun greets Master. The golden hand bone turned into Taoist Chongyun again. Then it was the silver eye. 3 days later, a silver-haired, silver-eyed woman in Taoist robes revived from the natural fortune furnace. These 3 weren't humans. The crystal skull Taoist Chongming was a Chongming beast. The golden bone claw Taoist Chongyun was a Swanee. The silver-eyed Taoist Chongling nun was a silver phoenix. That is to say, you are all family? The restricted region lord swept her eyes over Li Yu's group, blinking her eyes, that, even though I still have quite a few memories, I am also missing some. Don't tell me. I am also from the same sect as you? Haha. That's not the case. Li Yu shook his head with a smile. We are not from the same sect, it's just that we were friends in the past. Come, it's your turn. It's not easy to open the natural fortune furnace, let's not waste any more time. Alright. The restricted region lord nodded and dispersed her image. A white skull that was as translucent as jade flew into the natural fortune furnace with a whoosh. 3 days later, the handsome restricted region lord stepped out of the natural fortune furnace, his white robes fluttering in the wind. I Yushu, greet Grand Supreme Taoist brother. Billions of years have passed, but I didn't expect to meet you again one day. The restricted region lord bowed to Li Yu, filled with emotion. At this point, Li Yu's plan to revive the immortal kings was complete. With 4 immortal kings in hand, they would be able to dominate the world. Chapter 658. The Great Calamity has been quelled. Ancestral Master has ordered us to return to Stone Village. After receiving the message, Xiaohao informed little Shirtu. Then, the 2 of them brought Yu Chan back to Stone Village. Cheong Qi and the sky-swallowing sparrow continued to fly as mounts. Soon, they returned to Demonic Spirit Lake. This is your sect? Immortal Divine Spring? You have such a divine item? What's that? Cornpring? And dragons? True dragons? Even Yu Chan, who came from the upper realm and had seen many things, was shocked when she saw the divine land full of spirit chi. Especially when Yu Chan saw the 3 small Kuan-pungs and 3 small dragons playing in the lake. She was completely stunned and scared silly. As expected of the Supreme Palace, Yu Chan was stunned for a while before coming back to her senses. This isn't the sex space. Xiaohao smiled and jumped down from Cheong Qi's back. This is our home. I'm back. Little Shirtu raised his hands and cheered at Stone Village before jumping down. Not the Supreme Palace's base? Just your home? This answer made Yu Chan even more shocked. If it was the Supreme Palace's base, it would be reasonable for it to have such a scene. Just their home was so terrifying? You're back? Good. Good. The old chief walked out of the village with a smile. Seeing Yu Chan behind little Shirtu, the old chief's eyes lit up. Is this little Shita's wife? Not bad. Not bad. I'm not. Hearing the old chief's words, Yu Chan quickly explained. Little Shirtu brought his wife back? She's quite pretty. At this time, all the people of Stone Village came out. A group of women surrounded Yu-chan and talked non-stop. After a while, Yu-chan was pulled away by a group of women with a red face. After seeing the Grand Empyrean wipe out the sect masters from the lower realm, Yu-chan became much more obedient. Xiaohao and Little Shirtu were not worried that she would cause any trouble. After all, Stone Village was under the control of the Willow Deity. If she dared to have any evil intentions, Willow Deity would teach her a lesson. Ancestral Master once said that the laws of the lower realm are incomplete. We will have to go to the upper realm to cultivate in the future. I wonder what the upper realm is like. Xiaohao and Little Stone chatted as they followed the old chief into Stone Village. It's said that the upper realm is vast and boundless. Geniuses emerged one after another. I'm looking forward to the upper realm. Little Shirtu chuckled and his fighting spirit soared. If you want to go to the upper realm, you can go now. At this time, 5 rays of light flashed and 5 figures appeared in Stone Village. In addition to Li Yu, there were 3 men and 1 woman, 4 figures. These people seemed ordinary, but they vaguely gave off an aura as vast and profound as the starry sky. It was as if every single one of them was as vast as the starry sky of a universe. Greetings, Ancestral Master. Xiaohao and the others hurriedly saluted Li Yu. Get up. Li Yu reached out and helped Xiaohao and the others up. This is Taoist Jade Void, Ai's good friend. These 3 are all Ai's disciples. You guys get to know each other. So it's the elders of the sect. Xiaohao and Little Stone hurriedly saluted them. It's them? It's them? They're all your sect's elders? My God, what's the background of your sect? The small pagoda at Little Stone's waist screamed in fright when it saw the figures beside Li Yu. Buzz. At this time, the dark green willow tree in the village burst out with a ray of light. Willow Deity's figure appeared and looked at the group of people beside Li Yu with a face full of shock. King Chongming? King Shui? King Silver Phoenix? And this is King White Crane? You guys. Willow Deity saw these people and was very surprised. You guys are still alive. So it's the ancestral guardian spirit. The restricted region lord, Halcyon and the others hurriedly saluted Willow Deity. Greetings, ancestral guardian spirit. Master spent countless years and paid an unimaginable price to save us, said Yifutian. Taoist Halcyon's face was full of emotion, letting out a long sigh. I, Jade Void, was only able to return to the world thanks to Tao Brother Most High's help. Looking back, the world has already changed. Seeing old friends from back then, I can't contain my joy. The restricted region lord was also filled with emotion. Master? So, you 3 are all Grand Empyrean's disciples? King White Crane's Taoist title is Jade Void? You guys actually came from Tao sect, this is a bit surprising. Hearing these people's replies, Willow Deity was shocked again. The heroes who roamed the world in the past were actually all from Tao sect? King Chongming and the other 2 were actually Grand Empyrean's disciples? Grand Empyrean was worthy of being a senior expert after all. In the beginning of Immortal Ancient, Tao sect already vanished without a trace. The restricted region lord let out a long sigh. Tao Brother Most High was trapped in Realm C, unable to return. I and the others fell, Tao sect thus no longer existed. During Immortal Ancient's last phase, Master returned from Realm C, but was already powerless to reverse the situation. Heaven and earth shattered, Immortal Ancient Great Era already ended. Master could only travel the world, gather our scattered remnant souls. Only today did we return to this world. Taoist Wang Zhongyun's robust face produced a wave of grief, raising his head towards the sky, releasing a long sigh. Fortunately, Lord Ancestral Guardian Spirit is unharmed. Last time we failed. This time we will definitely sweep through the darkness, return a bright world to the people of this world. Silver Phoenix King Taoist Nun Zhongling's silver eyes revealed a resolute expression. Since Heavenly Sovereign's preparations are so ample, Lu Qing also has a bit of confidence towards this world's future. Willow Deity took a deep breath. In this world, we will work together to sweep through the darkness. What a pity, Without End King and Reincarnation King have already disappeared. I spent endless time searching, but couldn't find the slightest trace. Li Yu released a long sigh. Those two worked together to deduce the reincarnation Tao. I wonder if their disappearance has anything to do with reincarnation. Reincarnation? Sigh. There is reincarnation in this world, but there are no reincarnated people. Even if they return in the next great era, they will already not be the Without End King and Reincarnation King of the past. I was also reincarnated, 9 deaths 1 life. Only with Heavenly Sovereign Meng's assistance did I recover a portion of my cultivation, even quite a bit of my memories of the past scattered. I wonder if there are any other Tao friends still in this world. Willow Deity shook his head with a sigh. Son of Kuan Pung, son of True Dragon, and Divine Striking Stone. This ruined pagoda is a bit familiar, as if I've seen it somewhere before. The restricted region lord swept his eyes over the village, nodding in praise. Tao Brother Most High has prepared for a rainy day, making ample preparations. Even the wall of gods and devils has been collected. This village is extremely unordinary. In response to the present world's changes, I can only do my best to gather all of my strength. To sweep through the darkness, our current strength is still far from enough. Li Yu shook his head. If you don't become an emperor, you will ultimately be an ant. Become an emperor? How can it be that easy? Everyone let out a long sigh. Alright, let's not talk about these things for now. Li Yu turned his head and swept a glance around. The lower realm is ultimately not a place to stay for long. I plan to head to the upper realm. This place can be considered to have been built pretty well. Might as well bring it to the upper realm together. Reaching out his hand and waving, black and yellow chi spread out. The earth shook. The entire land within a radius of 10,000 miles of demonic spirit lake was collected by Li Yu with a wave of his hand. Chapter 659. Baxia, come quickly! Li Yu called out. The ground rumbled as the enormous dragon Sun Baxia appeared outside the demonic spirit lake. Let's put Stone Village in the Supreme Palace for now. Li Yu waved his hand and placed the land within 10,000 miles of the demonic spirit lake into the Supreme Palace on Baxia's back. The Supreme Palace, which had been reforged by Li Yu with the eternal immortal abode, contained an enormous minor world that was more than enough to contain an area of over 10,000 kilometers. Let's go. After settling Stone Village, Li Yu led everyone to the Supreme Palace on Baxia's back. Baxia shrunk his body and turned into a giant tortoise 100 feet tall. He rose into the air and flew. Crystal light spread out and enveloped Baxia, concealing his figure. He turned into a streak of light and instantly penetrated the space. He broke through the barrier and entered a vast and boundless world. The world is so vast? The spirit chi is so abundant. It's like heaven and earth compared to the lower realm. Xiaohao and Little Stone exclaimed in astonishment as they stood at the entrance of the Supreme Palace. The 3,000 provinces of the upper realm. Each province is larger than the 8 regions combined. There's an even vaster world outside the 3,000 provinces. Our world has 9 heavens and 10 earth. It's vast and boundless. When he heard Xiaohao and the others' sighs of admiration, Li Yu turned around, explaining to the two of them, 9 heavens 10 earths, immortal domain, foreign realm, this world is even more vast than you all imagine. The world is vast, and I can roam freely. Little Stone raised his fist and shouted. Then let's work hard. Li Yu, Willow Deity, and the others smiled at such a hot-blooded declaration. Ancestral Master, where are we going? They traveled at lightning speed, crossing thousands of rivers and mountains, but they had no intention of stopping. This made Xiaohao very curious about the destination of this trip. We're almost there. Liu lowered his head and glanced at the mountains and rivers below. He smiled. Your clan also has members of your clan in the 3,000 prefectures of the upper realm. It's just that, they're having a hard time now. Our clansmen? Are there any of our people in the upper realm? Little Shirtu and Xiaohao raised their heads and looked at Liu. They were curious about the people from the upper realm. We're here. Dragon Sun Baxia came to a stop in the sky above a vast plain. Have we arrived? Long Ziba landed on the plains, and Xiaohao and Little Stone ran out from the Supreme Hall. They stood on Long Ziba's back and scanned the surroundings, looking for the place where their clansmen lived. However, other than the vast wilderness, there was only a huge stretch of ruins. Your clan's days in the upper realm are very difficult. In Desolate Borders Imperial Pass, you all still have a group of clansmen. Their lives are even more difficult. Liu led everyone down from Dragon Sun Baxia's body. Pointing at the ruins ahead, Liu sighed. As you can see, that place used to be the Stone Kingdom. The Upper Realm's Stone Kingdom. Stone Kingdom has already been destroyed. Xiaohao and Little Stone looked at the ruins ahead, stupefied. The Higher Realm's Stone Kingdom has already been destroyed. However, didn't you all come? We just have to rebuild it. Liu said to the two with a smile. The future is in your hands. It will all depend on you to create it yourselves. Yes, we will rebuild Stone Kingdom. After replying in a clear voice, Xiaohao and Little Stone leapt into the air, whistling as they flew towards the vast ruins. They wanted to see the former Stone Kingdom. Supreme Taoist brother, is that the person you've chosen? They are the opportunity to quell the darkness? The Lord of the Restricted Region, Taoist Jade Void, raised his eyes towards the two youngsters who flew over, a hint of brilliance flashing past his eyes. Back then, I also chose a few people, but unfortunately in the end they were still. I previously saw a corner of the future. Liu gave Xiaohao, who was next to the ruins, a look, and then said with a sigh, in that future, the entire world was surrounded by darkness, the world destroyed, all life withering away. Meanwhile, he carried the hopes of countless people, stepping onto the other side of Realm C. He fought alone, ruling through endless time. In the future, everyone called him Heavenly Emperor Huang. Heavenly Emperor? Willow Deity frowned slightly. Can he really become an emperor? Becoming an emperor, just how difficult is that? The Lord of the Restricted Region released a long sigh. There has never been an emperor since ancient times. Even in the age of Emperor Collapse, the one who left behind the footprints on the dam still wasn't a true emperor. He is hope, but he isn't the only hope either. We similarly need to work hard. If we can take that step ourselves, everything will no longer be a problem. Liu gave these people a look, and then laughed. Everyone, let's work hard together. This is indeed the case. Since we have already returned to this world, there is naturally no need to entrust our hopes to others. Becoming an emperor, even though the chances are slim, we still need to stake our lives. The Lord of the Restricted Region nodded, a wave of blazing flames surging within his mind. Ancestral Master. Ancestral Master. There are people from Stone Clan here. At this time, Xiaohao brought several impoverished elders, coming out from behind the ruins, waving at Liu and shouting. Let's go take a look. The descendants of Desolate Borders' 7 kings, falling to this state, it indeed shouldn't be like this. Liu walked towards the ruins. Ancestral Master, they said that we are the descendants of sinners? We are of the sinners' bloodline. Ancestral Master, are we really sinners? A blank expression appeared on Little Stone's face. His ancestor was actually a sinner? In this world, we are all of the sinner's bloodline? Being despised by the entire world? That isn't a sin, but a glory. Liu shook his head. Desolate Borders' 7 kings are heroes without equal. How can they be sinners? How can their descendants be of the sinner's bloodline? That mark represents glory. It is the mark that appeared when desolate borders 7 kings were crowned king. So it's like this? But why? Why did the mark of glory become the mark of sinners? Xiao Hao was extremely confused about this. That's because some people have ulterior motives, distorting the truth. This matter concerns your ancestors' glory, so you have to seek justice for this matter yourselves. Yes, we understand. Xiao Hao and Little Stone tightly clenched their fists. This was Stone Country's capital back then. If you want to rebuild Stone Country and recreate your ancestors' glory, you have to start from here. Li Yu waved his hand and black and yellow energy swept out like a wave. Under the black and yellow energy's sweep, the vast ruins were instantly disintegrated. With a wave of his hand, Stone Village, which had been stored in the Supreme Palace, was taken out by Li Yu. Stone Village will be placed here. With a press of his palm, black and yellow energy surged, and the demonic spirit lake, which had a circumference of 10,000 miles, reappeared in this world. The earth veins intersected, and spiritual energy flourished. The newly appeared land bloomed with endless radiance, as if it was a sacred pure land. Chapter 660. You can settle down here from now on. Li Yu nodded at Xiao Hao after putting down Stone Village. Bring the people from the upper realm to Stone Village too. Got it. Xiao Hao responded and quickly went to negotiate with the people of the Stone Village. Baxia, you will cultivate in Stone Village and try to break through as soon as possible. Stone Village also needed someone to protect it after it reached the upper realm. With Baxia's current cultivation, apart from a few crippled immortals, he did not need to worry about anyone else in the upper realm. We will all be pursuing our own paths now. Li Yu looked at the master of the forbidden area and the others. He nodded with a smile and handed a few messaging talismans to them. Take this messaging talisman. You can contact I at any time no matter where you are. We will go and look for our own opportunities to break through. The immortal emperors could not stay at home forever. Very well. I have some karma from the past that I need to resolve, and some things I left behind in the past that I need to take back. The master of the forbidden area put the messaging talisman away and brought his fists together at Li Yu before leaving. Master, we need to go out too. Taoist Chongming, Master Chifu, and Master Silver Phoenix bowed at Li Yu and left Stone Village too. Although these people's memories had been tampered with by Li Yu, the crucial memories had not been altered. They had to retrieve the artifacts and weapons they had left behind in the past. Willow Deity, what about you? Li Yu turned to Willow Deity with a smile. You have recovered your strength after taking the Immortal Emperor Supreme pill. What are your plans now? I've just recovered my full strength after returning from the Nirvana tribulation. I still need to consolidate my cultivation, so I'm not in a hurry to break through. I'll stay in Stone Village. Willow Deity looked at Stone Village and smiled. Since Heaven Highness has spent so much effort on them, I'll stay here and look after them for a while. Thank you, Willow Deity. With an immortal emperor like Willow Deity around, Stone Village would be fine even if the sky collapsed. As they walked into Stone Village, Xiao Hao and Little Shirtu arrived in front of Li Yu. Patriarch, that. Little Shirtu rubbed his head and took out Little Pagoda from his waist. Ancestral Master, you still have a section of the White Pagoda. It's the body of the pagoda that Little Pagoda left behind back then. Could you? Haha, of course I have to return it. With a wave of his hand, Li Yu took out half of the White Tower. Many thanks, Sky Sovereign. Small Pagoda happily gave its thanks, and rushed forward with a howl. As the radiance flickered, half of the White Tower merged with the small tower, becoming one. A 6-story white pagoda was floating in the air, shining with a brilliant radiance. There are still 3 levels to go. Li Yu glanced at the white pagoda and smiled. The remaining 3 levels of your pagoda are in the hands of the Golden Monkey King of the Great Red Sky Fall Immortal Ridge. The Golden Lion King was at the Immortal King realm. After some time, let Halcyon and the others accompany you. Many thanks, Sky Sovereign. Many thanks, Sky Sovereign. Lil Pagoda was unable to contain its joy. If all 9 levels of the pagoda were taken back, it would be able to recover its full strength. Alright, now we have to talk about your matters. Ignoring the white pagoda, Liu looked at Xiaohao and Little Rock. You've also felt the difference in the laws of heaven and earth in the upper realm, right? Yes. Ancestral Master, we've realized that there are still many flaws in our cultivation. After arriving in the upper realm, Xiaohao and Little Rock clearly realized that their perfected supremacy cultivation in the lower realm still had many flaws after arriving in the upper realm. The laws of heaven and earth in the lower realm are incomplete, so you naturally can't cultivate to perfection. However, you're still in the human realm, so you still have a chance to start anew. Liu stretched out a finger, and a flame flickered at the tip of his finger. A phoenix appeared in the flame, born of desire. You've all learned the Phoenix Treasured technique. The Phoenix Nirvana technique is the strongest technique for you to rebuild your foundation. I see. Then we'll immediately go to Nirvana to recultivate. Little Rock was a little impatient, and he planned to go back to Nirvana to recultivate. Don't be anxious. This is still not the best place to recultivate. Liu smiled. The 9 heavens and 10 earths were shattered back then. The laws of heaven and earth are also incomplete. Come with me. I'll take you to a place. There are complete laws of heaven and earth there. Heavenly Venerable, are you going to take them there? Willow Deity was shocked when she heard Liu's words. Heavenly Venerable, that world is extremely dangerous. Moreover, it's extremely difficult to break through the realm and reach that world. I know of a secret place with a secret passage that leads directly to the outer realm. That world has complete laws of heaven and earth, and it's suitable for them to recultivate. Moreover, they'll be enemies in the future. It's also a good thing to let them understand it first. Liu explained to Willow Deity, and then he continued, I'll take them away for a while. I'll have to trouble Willow Deity to take care of this place. He flicked his sleeve and put Xiaohao and Little Rock away. Just as he was about to leave, Liu turned around and saw the few pure-blooded true spirits in Stone Village. With a thought, he waved his hand and put Xiongqi and the others away. Liu's figure flashed, and he instantly disappeared without a trace. In one of the 9 heavens, the Yutian, there's a secret passage that can lead to the outer realm. This information was obtained from the memories of the Lord of the Forbidden Zone, White Crane King. When he resurrected them, Liu naturally copied a copy of their remnant memories. He broke through the void and flew all the way. Not long after, Liu's figure appeared at the edge of a ruin in the Yutian. This was the ruins of a great battle. There was an underground building in the ruins. Along the way there were countless bones piled up. There were living beings of the 9 heavens and creatures of the outer realm. There were also many bones that emitted an aura of immortality. Countless perfected immortals of the 9 heavens and the outer realm have fallen. How tragic was that battle back then? Liu sighed and continued to go deeper underground. At the bottom of an underground abyss, he saw an altar. There was a formation engraved on the altar. Was this a formation left behind by the immortals of the 9 heavens when they planned to counterattack the outer realm? Liu looked at the formation on the altar and sighed. The immortal ancient great war, the outer realm obtained a great victory. Even this kind of formation wasn't destroyed. The people of the outer realm are indeed very confident. With a flick of his finger, a speck of spiritual light landed on the altar. Brilliant light flickered, and a deep and pitch-black crack opened above the altar. The outer realm has many immortal kings, which is to say, immortal kings. This path also opened in front of an immortal king powerhouse's door. I still have to be careful. A speck of light flashed, and Liu's entire body turned into nothingness. This was the void form divine ability that Li Yu obtained from the nether beast in Wang Lin's world. The power that originated from a different world was completely different from this world's power system. This type of divine ability was something not even immortal kings could detect. This was where Li Yu's confidence in heading to the outer realm came from. After all, the outer realm had at least 6 or 7 immortal kings. Once he was surrounded and attacked, no matter how many trump cards Li Yu had, he would still be beaten until his head was full of bumps, his face covered in dirt. Li Yu naturally couldn't let this type of thing happen. Chapter 661. He shuttled through the cracks in the void. The void was boundlessly vast. Even with Li Yu's cultivation, it still took him several days to pass through the cracks in the void and reach another world. There's actually no one guarding? After coming out of the crack in the void, Li Yu discovered that this exit was actually not guarded at all. Back then, when the 9 heavens and 10 earths were defeated, this passage had already been annihilated in history. I'm afraid the people of the other side don't even remember, right? Stepping out of the cliff, he saw a holy land with brilliant immortal light in front of him. The mountains were majestic, the earth was vast, and the vegetation was abundant. The entire land was surrounded by brilliant immortal light, and the immortal energy was extremely dense. This place is not inferior to the immortal region, as expected of the immortal king's lair. Feeling the dense immortal energy, Li Yu sighed inwardly. The cultivation conditions of the other side are simply too good. After the 9 heavens and 10 earths were broken, the world became flawed, and the spiritual energy dropped by a level, far from being comparable to the other side. Taking a step forward, Li Yu smelled a rich medicinal fragrance. This is the medicine garden in Red King's lair? This is interesting. Walking forward, Li Yu discovered that there was a formation set up in this area. No wonder no one is guarding it. It turns out that a formation has been set up. An immortal king level formation. There was indeed no need to worry about anyone sneaking in. Unfortunately, he met me. In that era, Li Yu had already grasped the 9 secrets, and the word formation was the pinnacle of all formations in the future. Moreover, after a few worlds, Li Yu's knowledge of formations and restrictions was already extremely terrifying. With a touch of his soul, combined with the true primordial record's basic talisman principles, the analysis of billions of strands of consciousness, and the calculations of the Book of Changes, Li Yu quickly understood this formation. With a casual wave of his hand, he broke through the formation and continued onward. In the depths of the mountain range ahead, there was a huge volcano. Flames filled the sky, illuminating the sky red. Around the volcano there was a medicinal garden. The divine light was brilliant, the medicinal fragrance filled the air, and the essence of the plants was extremely rich. However, this was not what attracted Li Yu's attention. At the center of the volcano, amidst the scorching magma, there was a stalk of grass that was perfectly straight. It had no branches or leaves, standing at the mouth of the volcano like a pillar, radiating a brilliant golden light. The plants were golden in color and looked splendid, like a scorching sun hanging in the sky. 9 turns young grass. This rare divine medicine made Li Yu exclaim in admiration. The wonders of heaven and earth are truly unimaginable. Such a divine item is an item that can bring the dead back to life. The 9 reincarnation sungrass was not an immortal herb, but it was better than countless immortal herbs. It didn't have any other functions, but its only use was extremely terrifying. It could revive people. His body floated up, and in his incorporeal state, he silently drifted to the mouth of the volcano. As expected, there's also a formation at the mouth of the volcano. However, this is still not a problem for me. Not long after, Li Yu broke the formation. With a wave of his hand, the 9 revolutions yang grass fell into Li Yu's hand. With the 9 revolutions yang grass in hand, this trip was already worth it. Once Li Yu analyzed the resurrection principle of the 9 revolutions yang grass, it was not impossible for him to create a resurrection technique in the future. After putting away the 9 revolutions yang grass, Li Yu continued forward. When Li Yu walked out of the volcano valley, he discovered a cave abode on a cliff at the entrance of the herb garden. Immortal energy lingered in the cave abode, inhaling and exhaling continuously. Clearly, someone was cultivating in the cave abode. An undying being, which is also a true immortal. This person should be the guard of the herb garden. Li Yu, who was in his incorporeal state, silently landed in the cave abode. There were no restrictions or formations set up in the cave abode. Presumably, this undying being was very confident in the safety of this cultivation ground. The nest of an undying king, Scarlet King, was naturally one of the safest places in the entire foreign realm. Unfortunately, I am here. You guys don't have any safety to speak of. Silently floating into the cave abode, Li Yu saw the silver-robed cultivator sitting cross-legged on the praying mat in the huge cave abode. Time Beast? Scarlet King was originally a time beast who obtained the Tao and cultivated into an undying king. It is very normal for someone from Scarlet King's clan to appear in the nest. A black and white light intertwined at his fingertip, and the Tai Chi heavenly prison spell instantly landed on the cultivator's body. Before he could even react, the cultivator formed from the time beast was instantly sealed by Li Yu and stored in the resource vault. System: copy the memories of the divine soul. After coming to the foreign realm, the first thing Li Yu had to do was to understand the situation and grasp the language of the foreign realm. This time beast was also in the true immortal realm and had a lot of information in his memories. It was suitable for Li Yu to understand the foreign realm. Language, knowledge, even cultivation techniques, experience, and comprehension all fell into Li Yu's hands. Scarlet King has been in seclusion for many years? As expected, Scarlet King is undergoing nirvana rebirth. In the original trajectory, a few decades later, Heavenly Emperor Huang had also sneaked into the foreign realm through this path and then chopped the weak Scarlet King, who had just undergone nirvana rebirth, into 2. Although he didn't truly kill Scarlet King, he still made Scarlet King's nirvana rebirth go to waste. He could only return to his old body and lose the possibility of taking another step forward. This medicinal garden is very quiet. Normally, almost no one comes here. It is suitable for Xiaohao and the others to undergo nirvana here. Li Yu waved his hand and added a layer of restrictions in the cave abode, hiding all movements in the cave abode. Only then did he remove the void transformation ability and release Xiaohao and the others. Ancestral Master, where is this? Appearing in an unfamiliar cave abode, Xiaohao, Little Stone, the heaven-swallowing sparrow, Qiongqi, Qing Tianpeng, and the golden-haired little monkey, everyone was very curious. This is the foreign realm, which is also the enemy's nest. Li Yu explained to everyone, be careful, don't run out. The laws of heaven and earth in this world are complete. It is suitable for you to undergo nirvana rebirth and strengthen your foundation. At this point, Li Yu looked at the golden-haired little monkey that was still squeaking. Only then did he remember that he hadn't unsealed Scarlet Ape's memory. With a flick of his finger, a spiritual light entered Scarlet Ape's mind. Li Yu unsealed the memory seal that he had set back then. The golden-haired little monkey groaned. Its soul broke free from the shackles, and it regained its memory. Then, ah, my illustrious name. After regaining its memory, Scarlet Ape saw that it was abducted by a candy. It saw that it followed Little Stone and stole chickens and dogs, causing trouble along the way. This made Scarlet Ape so ashamed that it wanted to bang its head on the ground and die. Alright. This place is the enemy's territory, and it is extremely dangerous. You can only cultivate in the cave abode. Don't go out. Otherwise, even I can't protect you, Li Yu warned. Then, he waved his hand and shot out a few balls of light, which fell into the minds of the 4 pure-blooded true spirits. I have already taught you the Phoenix Nirvana technique. Cultivate according to this technique and undergo Nirvana rebirth. Scarlet Ape, you will cultivate the Chaotic World Demonic Apes 8 Ninth Heavens technique. Azure Sky Pung, you will cultivate the Kuan Pung Treasured technique. Heaven Swallowing Sparrow, you will cultivate the Soul Devouring Heavenly technique. Cheong Chi, you will cultivate the Heavenly Art of Annihilation. Apart from the Kuan Pung Treasured technique, the other heavenly techniques were obtained from the memories of the Dark Immortal King and the Immortal General. Liu took the opportunity to pass them down. Use the Phoenix Nirvana technique to rebuild your foundation. You must not act rashly. You must cultivate the mortal realm to the extreme. This is your only chance to make up for your shortcomings. When you ignite the divine fire, you will no longer have the chance to cultivate again. After warning them, Liu turned into nothingness again and left the cave abode. Scarlet King, are you undergoing Nirvana rebirth? This poor Taoist will naturally help you. Alright, this regular update. Chapter 662. Scarlet King, this was a vicious and brilliant undying king. In Immortal Ancient's decisive battle, Scarlet King had previously used the Scarlet King Furnace to refine an immortal king from the 9 heavens 10 earth. More importantly, in the original trajectory, when Heavenly Emperor Huang stepped into Realm Tomb, entered the Great River of Time, he took action from above the Great River of Time to kill Heavenly Emperor Huang. If it wasn't for vicious Great Emperor taking action from the future, stopping Scarlet King, severing karma, stopping time, Heavenly Emperor Huang might have been wiped out under his hands. Scarlet King's ambitions were great. He underwent a nirvanic reincarnation because he wanted to break through his shackles, start over. He wanted to break through the immortal king realm, achieve great emperor accomplishment. What a pity! Even if I didn't take action this time, you will still be hacked in half by Heavenly Emperor Huang one day. Silently drifting out of the valley, what appeared before Liu was a boundless territory. Scarlet King Tribe, Time Beast, one of the foreign emperor clans. This type of identity allowed them to possess transcendent status in the foreign realm. The entire tribe occupied a vast and boundless expanse of mountains and rivers. Even this ancestral land known as Scarlet King's Old Nest still had a vast territory of 1,000,000 li. This is Scarlet King's place of seclusion? From the memories of the Medicine Garden Guards, Liu learned about Scarlet King's place of seclusion. Before his eyes was a small hill, on top of the hill was a simple and ancient stone palace, nothing abnormal about it at all. If not for knowing that this was Scarlet King's place of seclusion, Liu might very well have overlooked it. Ever since Immortal Ancient's last phase, Scarlet King has always been in seclusion? Nirvana reincarnation isn't easy after all. Willow Deity's Nirvana, 9 deaths 1 life. Scarlet King's Nirvana might similarly have great dangers. His figure turned into nothingness. Liu silently drifted over to the hill, arriving before the ancient palace. At the entrance of the ancient palace, there was a time beast's young, currently lying lazily on the ground, comfortably basking in the sun like a lazy kitten. Flood dragon head lion body, entirely scarlet red, entire body covered in thick scales. Along its spine was a row of long bone spurs, hard and ice-cold, flickering with metallic luster. This was one of the world's most terrifying clans. Their statuses in the other side were like the true dragons of the 9 heavens 10 earth. The beast of time controlled the power of time. His attacks contained the power of time, and his speed was beyond the imagination of ordinary people. His defense was imbued with the power of time, which could slow his opponent's attack to a snail's pace. More importantly, the power of time could accelerate the passage of time and cause the enemy to age instantly, reverse time, and return the enemy to their childhood state. Such a terrifying divine ability was simply unstoppable. This was the child of a time beast. Based on the growth cycle of the time beast, it had only been born for a few decades, just like a human baby that was less than a year old. However, Scarlet King, is this your nirvana body? Seeing this time beast cub, Liu almost laughed out loud. Bumping into Ai's hands is better than being chopped into two by Huang Tiandi a few decades later. At least, you won't be wasted in Ai's hands. Thinking of the crocodile ancestor back then, it was not a waste at all. The time beast and the immortal king. Liu naturally didn't want to waste any of these treasures. The immortal king after nirvana is still a cub. You don't have any leeway to resist at all. Reaching out his hand and pointing out, black and white light flashed. This time beast cub was instantly sealed by Liu's Tai Chi heavenly prison magic, not even having the time to react. Her. Scarlet King, falling into Ai's hands, your days from now on will be very exciting. Copying a copy of Scarlet King's divine soul memories and transmitting it into his mind, in a moment, he already understood everything about Scarlet King's seclusion place. There's still a small world under the main hall? This isn't surprising at all. With Scarlet King's memories, even if this main hall was densely covered in formations, with countless extremely ferocious killing formations, it already didn't have the slightest bit of resistance to Liu. According to the method in Scarlet King's memories, Liu walked into the main hall, stepping into the small world under the main hall. What a guy, worthy of being one of the foreign emperor clans. This collection is truly shockingly rich. Even in Scarlet King's memories, Liu already knew that since the immortal ancient era, Scarlet King's clan had collected countless heavenly treasures, countless divine weapons and immortal artifacts. However, when Liu arrived at the underground secret storehouse, he was still stunned by the mountain of countless divine materials and secret treasures. What the hell? There are over 100 immortal artifacts. There are even immortal king divine weapons. On the stone wall of the secret storehouse hung a row of divine weapons wrapped in immortal light. A portion of these things were spoils of war from Scarlet King's campaign in the 9 heavens 10 earths, and some were refined by Scarlet King and his clansmen themselves. Apart from this, there were also world stones, chaos stones, heaven's mandate stones, and other strange stones and divine objects. All kinds of immortal gold were piled up like mountains, and there were even several branches of the world tree. In addition, there was also a mountain of source stones piled up like a mountain. This was an immortal source from the chaotic ancient era, compared to the divine source and immortal source of the later generations. It was countless times stronger. Heavenly treasures belong to those who are virtuous. I have profound morals. This item is fated with I. With a wave of his hand, all the resources in the secret storehouse were collected into the resource storehouse. Just one storehouse was enough to make Liu eat until his mouth was full of oil. In Scarlet King's memories, there were 8 more such storehouses. Along the way, without a sound, 9 secret storehouses and endless divine materials and treasures all fell into Liu's hands. Sure enough, robbing is the way to get rich. Liu continued forward happily and arrived at a stone mountain in the small world. There was also a stone hall here. This was Scarlet King's true place of seclusion. There was also Scarlet King's old body here. Although in Scarlet King's eyes, this was an old body that he had to give up. However, this old body truly possessed the power of an immortal king. How could Liu let go of such a thing? He silently floated into the stone hall. In the hall, Liu discovered 3 figures. Among them was a tall figure with a head full of red hair and an incomparably majestic aura. This was Scarlet King's old body. On both sides of the hall, there were 2 old men sitting cross-legged and cultivating. These 2 people were definitely Scarlet King's trusted clansmen. They were guarding Scarlet King's seclusion here. 2 immortals, I'm about to catch them all in one fell swoop. With a flash of black and white light, the Tai Chi heavenly prison spell was used. Being ambushed by Liu, an immortal king, the two perfected immortal realm elders had no room to resist at all. They also fell into Li Yu's demonic claws. With a wave of his sleeve, the two old men and Scarlet King's old body were put away together. And Scarlet King's divine weapon. In the air of the hall, a completely red divine furnace emitted a vast and boundless power. It shook the stars, destroyed the great thousand, and destroyed the heavens and earth. Immortal King divine weapon, I don't even have one in my hands. With Scarlet King's memories, it was even easier to put away the Scarlet King furnace. With a spell, the Scarlet King furnace burst out with a ray of light and turned into a small pill furnace the size of a palm, falling into Li Yu's hands. What a great harvest! Li Yu laughed loudly, took a step forward, and instantly disappeared without a trace. Chapter 663. Those brats still need some time to undergo rebirth. After leaving Scarlet King's place of seclusion, Li Yu gave the medicinal garden valley a look, nodding. From Scarlet King and the others' memories, that medicinal garden belongs to Scarlet King. The main reason is to nurture the 9 revolutions yang grass, to prevent any accidents from happening during one's rebirth. Apart from Scarlet King, no one else dares enter that medicinal garden. Their seclusion there is perfect. There was no issue with their safety during their seclusion. Li Yu also planned to use this chance to do some things. Gu clan, one of the archaic vicious 10. Back then, they were ordered to infiltrate the other side as spies, but in the end, they were powerless to reverse the situation. This clan carries the name of traitors, but they have no complaints, always trying to fight for a chance of survival for the 9 heavens, 10 earth. Li Yu raised his head, giving Gu clan a look, a smile appearing on his face. The path of justice needs companions. Gu clan, old friends from the 9 heavens 10 earths, have come to see you all. His figure roared out. Li Yu tore through the air, speeding towards Gu clan's encampment. The other side's world was even vaster than the 9 heavens 10 earth. Scarlet King's place of seclusion was millions and millions of li away from Gu clan's encampment. Li Yu tore through the void, crossing the sky dome, speeding along. Only after using several days of time did he arrive at Gu clan's encampment. This was a stone mountain. The stone mountain towered like a forest, not that tall, but extremely steep. The entire stone mountain was surrounded by mist, clouds rising and multicolored, clouds and mist curling about, making this vast stone mountain look faintly discernible, releasing a wave of strange power, appearing extremely mysterious. It was just like the clan that resided here, similarly mysterious and powerful. This was Gu clan's encampment. Back then, Ancestor Gu led Gu clan, pretending to defecting to the other side, but he also paid a disastrous price. Ancestor Gu purposely clashed with Stone clan's ancestor, one of Desolate Border's 7 kings. His sea of consciousness was injured by Stone King, his divine manner shattered, thus losing the chance to become an immortal king. After defecting to the other side, Ancestor Gu participated in the battle against Luanhui King. In the end, the seriously injured Luanhui King died under Ancestor Gu's hands. Of course, this was just a ruse. Reincarnation King was already on the verge of death, choosing to die under the hands of his own people, allowing Gu clan to obtain the other side's trust. Ancestor Gu cannot become an immortal king. This is also the reason why the other side is at ease in accepting Gu clan. Without an immortal king, they wouldn't be able to cause any wave. If there are any strange movements, I will be able to suppress it with a flip of my hand. Li Yu's figure silently floated into the stone mountain. After passing through numerous rocky mountains and winding around countless canyons and abysses, the path ahead suddenly opened up and a huge plain appeared. On this plain stood the tallest stone mountain. It was like a long spear, piercing the sky and piercing through the clouds. A gigantic yin-yang cauldron hung in the sky, emanating a vast aura that could suppress the heavens and annihilate all things. Under the yin-yang furnace and around the stone mountain, there were palaces and buildings. This was the residence of the Gui race. You ancestor is the only one I want to see. I'm afraid the others still don't know the truth behind the so-called defection. In a flash, Liu appeared at the foot of the stone mountain below the yin-yang furnace. There was a deep valley here. In the depths of the valley, there was a passage that led straight to the underground. Yu ancestor was cultivating in seclusion in the depths of the cave. After passing through the underground passage, Liu appeared at the entrance of the cave and released a bit of his aura. Who is it that has come? In the underground cave, a skinny and short old man suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes erupted with endless light. Time flowed and space changed. Endless strange phenomena erupted from these eyes. His aura was vast and boundless. One hand breaks time, one hand breaks space. Gu Clan's divine abilities are indeed extraordinary. Liu walked into the cave with a smile and nodded at Yu ancestor. Dao friend, after a long time, I bring greetings from home. Yu ancestor's eyes shone brightly. He suddenly stood up and a boundless power erupted from his hands. My clan has a deep grudge with the 9 heavens 10 earth. Who are you? Who ordered you to do this? How dare you offend my clan like this? You are courting death. Can't you sense my aura? The aura of an immortal king flashed across Liu's body. Does this world have an immortal king of the human race? Where did I come from? Don't you know? You really are an immortal king of the human race. Yu ancestor's expression changed. He waved his hand and a light screen appeared, enveloping the entire cave. After doing this, Yu ancestor asked Liu in a low voice, "Who are you exactly? I don't remember someone like you among my old friends. Are you an immortal king who ascended later? Why are you here? It's too dangerous." I'm not an immortal king who ascended later. I am an immortal king. I went to the Realm Sea during the early years of the Immortal Ancient Era. I only returned after the Immortal Ancient Era was destroyed. It's not strange that you don't know me. However, Liu smiled. A willow leaf, a crane feather, the mane of the Chongming beast, the scales of the swan and the feathers of the silver phoenix appeared in his hand. You should know them, right? Ancestral guardian spirit, White Crane King, Chongming King, Swan Silver Phoenix King. Didn't they already die in battle? Yu ancestor looked at the tokens in Liu's hand. His entire body trembled, his face filled with shock. Chongming, Swan and Silver Phoenix were all Ai's disciples. After returning from the Realm Sea, the world was shattered and the situation was lost. I was powerless to reverse the situation. In these years, I traveled the world, collecting scattered remnant souls. Not long ago, I revived them and returned them to the world. Liu put away the tokens in his hand and turned to look at Yu ancestor. Back then, I already knew about your plan with Wuzhong King, Luanhui King, Stone King, and the others. Now we have regrouped and regrouped. Dao friend, do you still remember the oath from back then? I will never forget it. Yu ancestor stood up straight, heavily clenching his fist and pounding on his chest. We swore to sweep away the darkness and rebuild the universe. Even if we died 100 times, we would have no regrets. Very good. Since you haven't forgotten the oath from back then, in that case our plan can be carried out. Liu nodded. I have already met up with Ancestral Guardian Spirit and the others. Now we already have 6 Immortal Kings. In the future, I will also find Black Tortoise King, Immortal Gold King, and number 2 under heaven. One of Desolate Border's 7 kings is still alive. Our strength is continuously growing. That's great. Hearing Liu's introduction, in the future, they could gather more than 10 Immortal Kings. This force was already not weaker than the current foreign realm. When the great battle started again, they would definitely wipe away their previous humiliation. Yu ancestors' blood boiled. I also have a way to deal with your old injuries from back then. Liu handed Yu Ancestor a copper talisman. Take this. When the decisive battle arrives, activate the copper talisman and you will immediately recover from your injuries. At that time, you will advance to Immortal King in one go. We will join hands and flatten the world, wipe away our previous humiliation. This talisman was only a location marker. When Yu Ancestor activated the talisman, Liu could operate it remotely, using the system's functions to repair Yu Ancestor's sea of consciousness. Yu Ancestor's realm had long been able to advance to Immortal King, but he was limited by his injuries, unable to reach perfection. That's great. Yu Ancestor received the talisman, his face full of joy. The entire Yu clan is unswerving. When the war drums sound in the future, we will definitely rise up and join hands with everyone to flatten the world. In that case, when the world is flattened in the future, we will drink to our heart's content with Yu Ancestor. Liu cupped his hands and bowed. I will take my leave first. With a flash, Liu turned into nothingness, instantly disappearing without a trace. This Grand Empyrean is indeed resourceful. With such a person, the day when we wipe away our humiliation is right in front of us. Yu Ancestor put away the copper talisman and laughed loudly. The gloominess that had gathered for millions of years was swept away. Chapter 664. Ancestor Gu has already set up a secret plan. After Liu left Gu clan's encampment, he directly returned to Scarlet King's seclusion place. Actually, Scarlet King can also reforge his soul and become my subordinate. Only, Scarlet King brought endless slaughter to the 9 heavens 10 earths in the Battle of Immortal Ancient. He can't be washed clean no matter what, so it's not suitable to release him. Returning to Scarlet King's medicine garden, Liu saw everyone in seclusion in the cave. He discovered that all of them had already completed their rebirth according to the Phoenix Nirvana technique, and were currently rebuilding their foundations. There is the Phoenix Nirvana technique. This is the world's most powerful Nirvana technique. Then, there are all types of heavenly arts and precious techniques, and they are also recultivated in a world with extremely complete heaven and earth laws. This cultivation condition is already the best. Sensing everyone's cultivation situation, Liu smiled and nodded. You all can forge the most solid foundation. Only, to recultivate through nirvana, it wasn't something that could be done in a day or two. If it's just fixing the flaws, it won't take too long. If you want to lay the most solid foundation, then it will take some time. Liu estimated that it would take at least half a year to a year for everyone to recultivate. Just nice. I also have some things that I need to organize. I'll take advantage of this time to deal with them. He obtained a piece of world stone from the Fusang tree, and 7 more from Scarlet King's secret treasury. It was perfect to use this time to analyze the heaven and earth laws contained in these world stones. Finding a room in the cave, Liu sat down cross-legged. He released the world stones he obtained from Scarlet King's secret treasury, comprehending the laws one by one. As expected, these worlds were all destroyed in the darkness calamity. While comprehending the laws, Liu also sensed the world represented by each world stone, the process from birth to destruction. With these laws in hand, my Tao of Source has become even more substantial. Yin and Yang energies and black and yellow energies rushed out from the top of his head. Matter and order interweaved, producing the worlds of the world stones. World phantoms appeared one after another above Liu's head. When primal chaos first opened, Yin and Yang manifested, black and yellow were born, 5 elements rotated, 8 trigrams were born. Everything is within order and the origin of matter. The Taiji diagram appeared above his head, and the phantoms of several worlds exploded, turning into endless lines of rules that merged into the Taiji diagram. All the rules were absorbed into the great Tao of origin. Fu Shao Chen spat out a mouthful of turbid air, and the Taiji diagram withdrew. Now, he understood all the laws. Not bad, my cultivation has increased again. Although this accumulation was not enough for Li Yu to complete a qualitative change, it was still a great harvest. Xianhuang energy and yin and yang energy would eventually transform into the energy of primal chaos, becoming the origin of all heavens and myriad worlds, the source of all space-time. Li Yu's path was too vast and too difficult. It was not something that could be done in a short period of time. However, it was not that difficult to break through the king realm and become an immortal emperor in this world. After absorbing the laws within the world stones, Li Yu had some understanding of the path to becoming an immortal emperor. Although this kind of destroyed world still has the laws of heaven and earth, it has lost its vitality. There were no laws governing the operation of heaven and earth or the birth and death of all living things. One must grasp a complete great world's laws of heaven and earth, and thus transcend heaven and earth. Only then can one become an immortal emperor. In this world, the only true complete great worlds that had the qualifications to produce an immortal emperor were the foreign realm, immortal domain, and the 9 heavens, 10 earths. The foreign realm has a world tree. However, the foreign realm's immortal kings are all concentrated near the world tree. This is quite troublesome. Comprehending the laws of heaven and earth was definitely not something that could be completed in an instant. Moreover, when Li Yu comprehended the laws of heaven and earth, there would definitely be irregular scenes that would startle this realm's immortal kings. When the time came, Li Yu would sink into comprehension, and then be stopped by a group of immortal kings. Even if he had a chance to run, he would lose the chance to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. The foreign realm's world tree still needs to be carefully considered. However, the 9 heavens, 10 earths, and immortal domains still have ways. In the 9 heavens, 10 earths world tomb secret realm, there was also an all-Dao tree. This all-Dao tree, even though it didn't carry all Dao like the world tree, it was like a mirror, reflecting the laws of heaven and earth into the all-Dao tree. Li Yu could also use this all-Dao tree to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. When the Fusang tree became a world tree, carrying all Dao, this was another chance to obtain the laws of heaven and earth. As for the others, he could use Void Dao realm cultivators to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth, use heavenly tribulation to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth, origin core to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. Li Yu's method of obtaining the laws of heaven and earth was already quite sufficient. Only the 9 heavens, 10 earths, heaven and earth are damaged, the laws of heaven and earth incomplete. I fear that it still won't be enough for me to break through the immortal king realm and become an immortal emperor. Immortal domain and the foreign realm's laws of heaven and earth cannot be let off. Towards his own path of advancement, after having a clear plan, Li Yu wasn't in too much of a rush either. On the path of cultivation, every step had to be taken steadily, steadfastly, only then could one walk far. Acting too hastily wasn't the correct path of cultivation. The true primordial record cannot be let off either. The true primordial record's 3 pieces completely described the Tao of runes. Using runes to analyze the laws of heaven and earth, using runes to express the laws of heaven and earth, ultimately creating runes, creating laws. This was also a great Tao, and it could also be incorporated into Li Yu's great Tao of origin system, into the order origin system. In the following time, Li Yu immersed himself in cultivation and comprehension. The laws of heaven and earth contained in the world stones, as well as the runes of the true primordial record, were analyzed and comprehended one by one, and incorporated into his own system, as resources for the growth of his great Tao of origin. Cultivation was without time, and a year passed quickly. On this day, Li Yu was awakened by a mighty aura. Have I finally completed my cultivation? Li Yu turned his head and saw the sky-devouring sparrow's body erupting with a mighty aura, surrounded by endless dark golden light, exuding a terrifying aura that could devour souls. Not bad. The foundation is already very solid. Li Yu nodded, indicating for the sky-devouring sparrow to sit quietly and wait. In the next few days, the Azure Sky Rock, Qiongqi, and Zhu Yan completed their nirvanic rebirth, solidifying their foundations, and reaching the peak of the Supremacy Realm. Only these two fellows are left. Li Yu glanced at Xiaohao and Little Shirtu and said with a smile, "These two fellows are very ambitious." Feeling the surging power in Xiaohao and Little Rock's bodies, Li Yu was very satisfied. After waiting for another half a month, Xiaohao and Little Rock finally completed their cultivation. Boom! The monstrous aura was like a vast ocean, surging with raging waves. A long beam of aura rushed out from the top of his head, turning into the shape of a dragon, whistling and circling. Aura like a dragon. Good. Good. The phenomenon of aura like a dragon proved that their mortal realm cultivation had already reached the peak and exceeded the limit. After a while, the two of them stopped cultivating, and their auras were restrained, not revealing the slightest bit, as if they were ordinary people. However, in Li Yu's eyes, their cultivation situation was clear at a glance. The rebirth from a drop of blood has reached the blood movement realm. The 10 grotto heavens have merged into one, forming a divine kingdom. The inscription realm has engraved the treasured skills of the primordial ferocious 10 on the body. Li Yu saw the two of them reconstructing their foundations and nodded in admiration. The formation arrangement realm. Little Rock has engraved the divine ability of the supreme bone into his bones. Xiaohao has integrated the 6 paths of reincarnation heavenly technique into his body. The supremacy realm is even more powerful. The martial Tao heavenly eye has cultivated the multiple pupils. At this point, everyone's foundation had been reconstructed. Li Yu flicked his sleeves and put everyone away. He followed the path he came from and silently returned to Jyotian Shidi. Chapter 665. Compared to coming up, returning was much faster. With a clear set of coordinates, Li Yu broke through the void and directly activated spatial teleportation, instantly returning to Stone Village in Xin Province. Now, all of you have finished your cultivation and your foundation is solid. It's time to go out and explore the world. After returning to Stone Village, Li Yu said to the 2 people and 4 beasts, "The 3,000 provinces of the Upper Realm will soon hold the Prodigy Selection Competition. This is also an opportunity for all of you. Go out and see the prodigies of the Upper Realm." Yes. Other than the Green Sky Rock who had to look after the 3 young green rocks in Stone Village, Qiongqi, Zhu Yan, and the sky-swallowing sparrow were all very interested in the prodigies of the 3,000 provinces of the Upper Realm. "I will give all of you a talisman." He waved his hand and threw a few talismans into everyone's hands. "This talisman can preserve your soul when you die so that your soul won't scatter. However, even if I can revive you, all of your cultivation will be gone." All his cultivation had gone down the drain, and he could only start all over again. "So don't die. Ancestral Master, you are very powerful and have many Dharma treasures. Just give us a few and we will have no worries when we travel the world." Qiongqi looked at Li Yu eagerly. With the Grand Celestial Venerable's wealth, he would be able to benefit immensely just by casually dropping something from his fingers. "Bastard! If I give you immortal artifacts and Dharma treasures, can you still train? Your own cultivation is the foundation. External items are not a long-term solution." Li Yu laughed and scolded, "I don't have any immortal artifacts. Cram." With a wave of his sleeve, Xiaohao, Little Stone, Qiongqi, Zhu Yan, and the sky-swallowing sparrow were swept up by Li Yu and thrown far away. "His Ancestral Master, you are so ruthless. Everyone touched their buttocks and grimaced in pain. Speaking of which, with our current strength, we shouldn't be afraid of anyone when we travel the world together, right? Little Stone glanced at everyone. Not to mention himself and Xiaohao, even Xiongqi and the other two had improved greatly after their foundations were rebuilt. They were more than just a little stronger than ordinary venerable ones. Dream on. At this time, Li Yu's voice came from afar. Everyone has their own opportunities. Everyone had their own path. Don't even think about joining forces. Upon hearing Li Yu's voice transmission, everyone had no choice but to disperse and go their separate ways. I'm not used to being alone. Little Shirtu touched the small pagoda at his waist and said gloomily. All right, I'm not a human. Small pagoda became even more depressed. I'm not a human either. The divine striking stone circled around little Shirtu and then hung on his waist. Ha ha! You two are still here. The little stone laughed loudly. He spread his wings, tearing through the skies. Heroes of the 3,000 provinces, I am coming. Patriarch gave me a mission? Go to Goddess Academy to look for someone called Qi Daolin? Near the Fire Province? That's a bit far. The Supreme Palace in his mind also had a map of the higher realm's 3,000 provinces. Xiaohao found the right direction and rushed through the skies, heading towards Goddess Academy. The higher realm's 3,000 provinces, every single province's territory was greater than the entire lower realm's 8 regions added together. If he had to rely on flight to reach Goddess Academy, he might have to fly for several years before arriving. Fortunately, there is still the province crossing transfer formation. Otherwise, the journey would be too far. He landed next to a large city in Xin Province. Xiaohao walked towards this city, planning to use the city's transport formation to head towards Goddess Academy. As soon as he walked to the city gate, a bone mirror hanging from the city gate suddenly erupted with a streak of radiance, shining down on Xiaohao's head. Xiaohao was shocked. He was about to evade when a strange change suddenly took place. Honglong. On Xiaohao's forehead, a blood-colored imprint suddenly appeared, erupting with endless radiance. On the mysterious symbol imprint, a blood-colored pillar of light rushed into the heavens, as if it was a heaven-supporting pillar that connected heaven and earth, rushing straight into the heavens. Wind and clouds surged, heaven and earth rumbled. The clouds that filled the sky were illuminated by this streak of blood-colored radiance, scattering into nothingness. In the sky, a blood-colored symbol floated in the horizon, erupting with heaven overflowing divine might. Sinner's blood scatters the clouds. A great, vicious existence. Who is this person? He actually has such dense sinner's blood? Damn it! How could there be such a ferocious and evil person among the sinners? Sinner's blood scatters the clouds. Once he matures, he will definitely bring disaster to the world. He must be killed. When Xiaohao's streak of blood-colored radiance rushed into the sky, shaking up heaven and earth, in another city in Xin Province, a blood-colored symbol also appeared on Little Stone's forehead. Another rumble shook up heaven and earth. There was also a symbol that floated high in the sky, surging with divine might. Another sign of sinners' blood scattering the clouds? Damn it, don't tell me these sinners still want to defy the heavens? Kill. They must be completely killed. Near Xin Province were Jian Province, Dragon Province, and Cloud Province. These 3 provinces each had 3 great sections. For countless years, they had always been suppressing and purging sinners' blood descendant. The Jian Province's Sword Valley, the Dragon Province's Demon Drake Path, and the Cloud Province's Fire Cloud Palace. These 3 great sects had existed for a very long time. It was said that they originated from the end of immortal ancient times. When the sign of sinners' blood scattering the clouds appeared, the 3 great sects were alarmed. The righteous path of the world shall not be blasphemed. Sword howls shook the heavens as streaks of light filled the sky. A few disciples of Sword Valley rushed into the air on their swords, rushing towards Sin Province. At the same time, genius disciples from Demon Drake Path and Firecloud Palace emerged as well. Firstly, it was to deal with the matter of Sinner's blood scattering the clouds. Secondly, it was for the upcoming selection of prodigies. Sinner die. Just as Xiaohao was rather surprised by the Sinner's blood rune that rushed out from his head, a figure tore through the air. A huge axe swung down at Xiaohao's head. Sinner? What sin have I committed? Xiaohao's figure swayed as he dodged the incoming axe. He frowned at the middle-aged man who had attacked him. The Sinner's blood lineage is filled with heinous sins. Who doesn't know that? Your ancestor has committed heinous sins. Your entire race has been sinners for generations. The middle-aged man widened his eyes as he pointed at Xiaohao and bellowed angrily. Sinner's blood scattering the clouds is a sign of great calamity. You will definitely bring calamity to the world in the future. Today, I'll enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and slay this sinner. I'm a descendant of the desolate border's 7 kings. My ancestor presided over the desolate border and fought bloody battles to protect the 9 heavens and 10 lands. What sort of merit is this? How dare you ignorant fools slander my ancestor? Xiaohao had long learned the truth from Li Yu. He was infuriated that his ancestor had been slandered as a sinner. However, the person in front of him was clearly ignorant of the truth. He was not the true culprit. Scram! Xiaohao waved his hand and struck out with his palm. Overwhelming divine powers and mighty divine might sent the person flying. The sinner's blood is committing heinous act. Everyone, aren't you going to uphold justice? The middle-aged man, who had been sent flying, spat out a mouthful of blood as he shouted towards the city. Sinner, how dare you commit heinous acts? Hand over your life. In an instant, another group of ignorant fools roared and charged forward. Who's slandering my ancestor? Who caused all of this? Xiaohao was furious. However, Li Yu did not tell him who the culprit was. Facing these ignorant fools, Xiaohao could only fight. Boom! Boom! With a punch and a kick, these cultivators who rushed out all vomited blood and fell to the ground. With Xiaohao's current deep foundation, these ordinary cultivators were not his match at all. Although these people were defeated very quickly, no one dared to continue coming forward. However, the anger in Xiaohao's heart burned even more fiercely. What? The transmission array is not for the sinner's blood lineage to use? Haha. Good. Very good. With a clang, the long saber left its sheath. Taihao once said that if you don't let me go, I'll beat you until you obediently ask me to go. I deeply agree. Chapter 666. Sinner's blood also dares to behave atrociously in front of my phantom Drake Dao sect? When Xiaohao pulled out his blade, a group of figures rushed out from the palace near the transmission array. These people called themselves Phantom Drake Dao. In reality, they were only Phantom Drake Dao's peripheral forces, not the true Phantom Drake Dao sect. Sin Province was the residence of the Sinner's bloodline. But the Sinner's bloodline didn't have any status in this land. In the entire Sin Province, apart from some small Sinner's bloodline settlements, for example, Sin Province's Fire Nation and the already destroyed Sin Province's Stone Nation, it was this kind of settlement. Apart from this, the majority of the place was divided up by the surrounding forces. Truly, what great guts! Sinner's blood still dares to be impudent? My Phantom Drake Dao destroyed a sinner country that gave birth to the Sinner's blood cloud scattering phenomenon back then. You evil creatures actually still dare to be savage? The person in the lead released heaven overflowing divine light from his entire body, a divine flame burning above his head, illuminating a Dao light wheel. Brilliant and resplendent, incomparably divine, as if a deity descended into the mortal world. This was a divine flame. Igniting the divine flame meant that this person already stepped into the divine spirit realm. Destroyed a sinner country? Xiaohao recalled that already destroyed Xin Province's Stone Nation. It was clear that Xin Province's Stone Nation was definitely destroyed under Phantom Drake Dao's hands. The fury in his heart surged, ice-cold killing intent rushing into the clouds. Sinners? Who decided the crime? What qualifications do you have to convict? The descendants of Desolate Border's 7 kings were actually determined as sinners by you all? They were actually destroyed by you all? The long blade in his hand was raised high, the grass symbol sword art, that ice-cold and sharp sword energy whistled through the air. These few years, how many people from Desolate Border's 7 kings' bloodline died under your hands? A debt of blood needs fresh blood to be repaid. The long blade hacked down angrily, heaven-reaching sword energy rushing into the clouds. A stalk of grass cut through the sun, moon, and stars. The world's most extreme sharpness, nothing it couldn't break, nothing it couldn't cut. One blade cleaved in half. Even if it was someone who ignited their divine flame, advancing to the divine spirit realm, they also couldn't block Xiaohao's blade. After rebuilding his foundation in the other side, Xiaohao's strength was unfathomable. Even if his cultivation realm hadn't ignited his divine flame, his combat strength far surpassed ordinary divine flame realm cultivators. Pu, the sword chi that could tear the sky and tear the clouds swept across. Everything in front of him was cut into two. A divine flame realm cultivator, along with 5 supremacies, were all killed. Even the palace behind him was destroyed by the saber. Humph! Xiaohao stowed his blade away and stood up. His anger had yet to subside. He turned his head and looked in the direction of the Dragon Province. His eyes were icy cold. The Dragon Province, the Demon Drake Path. You want to destroy the Stone Kingdom? This debt is not over yet. Xiaohao stepped onto the transfer formation and sent out a spiritual light, activating it. Then, he disappeared without a trace. Not long after Xiaohao left, a dragon shadow tore through the sky and descended into the city. A young man with 2 horns on his head appeared. Looking at the shattered palace and the corpses on the ground, the young man's face turned frosty. How dare you? How dare you kill a disciple of my Phantom Drake Path? The sinner's bloodline was actually so arrogant. Looks like it needs to be cleaned again. The young man snorted coldly and flew up, disappearing into the horizon. Buzz. Xiaohao arrived at another world as the spiritual power of the teleportation array vibrated. So this is the Immortal Province? Is it named Immortal because of the Goddess Academy? Xiaohao walked out of the teleportation array and saw a giant mountain. This mountain was grand and majestic, stretching for tens of thousands of li. The towering peak reached straight into the clouds. Above the mountain, immortal clouds swirled about. Rosy clouds rose and waterfalls flowed. The tall mountains were verdant and lush. Various immortal birds spread their wings and soared about. It was a magnificent sight. Below the tall mountains and even above the mountain, there were all types of grand and tall buildings. This place was precisely Goddess Academy. Goddess Academy was renowned throughout the world, enjoying a great reputation. The 3,000 provinces of the higher realms were vast and boundless, but this academy had existed for a long time. Its strength was extraordinary, its name shaking up the 3,000 provinces. It was one of the greatest inheritances in the world. This is my destination. Jumping up, Xiaohao arrived outside Goddess Academy's mountain gate very quickly. The ancestral master only said that I had to cross Goddess Academy's stairway to heaven, so I would obviously see that Qi Daolin. However, where is the stairway to heaven? Standing at the entrance of Goddess Academy, Xiaohao turned around, but he couldn't find anything that resembled a stairway to heaven. Hey, what are you standing there stupidly for? At this moment, a voice sounded from behind him. Xiaohao turned his head and saw 2 young cultivators, one male and one female. The one who berated Xiaohao just now was precisely that male youth. Sorry. When he saw that he was blocking their path, Xiaohao hurriedly moved out of the way. He nodded towards these two with a smile. You don't look familiar. Who are you? What did you come to my goddess academy for? It isn't time for the academy to recruit disciples yet, right? The young man gave Xiaohao a look and laugh. He seemed to have understood something. Oh, I know. There are a few cultivators who cannot enter the academy, who are willing to become the servants of the academy's disciples to obtain the opportunity to enter the academy. Could it be that you also have this idea? Pucci. The female at the young man's side covered her mouth and laughed. Senior brother Jean, didn't you say you haven't accepted a servant yet? This person seems passable. You can consider him. Heh. Junior sister is joking. What kind of status do you think I, Jean Qing, have? Not just anyone can become my servant. The young man proudly raised his head and looked down at Xiaohao. If you want to become my, Jean Qing's, servant, then you have to go through a test. You two misunderstand. Xiaohao smiled and shook his head. I have another inheritance and have no intentions of entering Goddess Academy. Of course, I won't become some servant. Right, I want to ask you two where Goddess Academy's heavenly stairway is. Heavenly stairway? You want to climb the heavenly stairway? When they heard Xiaohao's words, the male and female's faces were full of shock. Then, their faces became full of mockery. Someone like you wants to climb the heavenly stairway? Exactly. Why don't you take a look at yourself first? You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The two of them sneered in disdain. They only felt that Xiaohao's so-called heavenly stairway was extremely absurd. You two only need to tell me where the heavenly stairway is. You and I don't know each other, so why are you mocking me? Xiaohao was extremely displeased with these two's tone. However, after 100 reincarnations, Xiaohao's self-restraint was already extremely deep. He wouldn't lower himself to the same level as these people. Mocking? You think this young master will mock you? Flood dragons do not associate with fishes and shrimp. This young master is a disciple of Goddess Academy. What kind of status do you have? Why would I lower myself to your level? The young man arrogantly snorted. Forget it. Since he doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, why should we pay him any attention? That woman sneered in disdain. She pointed at a small path outside the academy. Didn't you want to climb the heavenly stairway? The heavenly stairway is over there. After speaking, the two of them swung their sleeves and no longer paid Xiaohao any attention. They walked through the academy's mountain gate. The heavenly stairway is here? Xiaohao turned around and looked at the small path outside the mountain gate. He nodded with a smile. Once I climb the heavenly stairway, I'll be able to find that Qi Daolin and complete the ancestral master's mission. They stepped onto the mountain path. Goddess Academy's heavenly stairway, that had never been climbed for countless years, finally welcomed a new challenger. Chapter 667. Walking along the mountain path, Xiaohao ascended the so-called stairway to heaven. This is just a normal mountain path without any abnormalities. Why is it called stairway to heaven? Xiaohao walked along the mountain path for a while, but he didn't find anything strange. He was a bit suspicious. Could it be that I was tricked? Those two fellas gave me a fake path? While he was guessing, Xiaohao suddenly noticed that on the mountain path in front of him, there was a floating stone platform. There were faint fluctuations of spiritual energy coming from it. It seems like the stairway to heaven has something to do with this stone platform. Walking up to the stone platform, Xiaohao noticed the words carved on the stone platform. 9 layers of stairway to heaven, there is only one checkpoint. This is the first checkpoint of the stairway to heaven? So it was like this. Jumping up, Xiaohao landed on the stone platform. When a dazzling radiance rushed up, the stone platform suddenly turned into a huge platform, as if it was a martial arts arena. Streaks of light flickered, and a formless fluctuation was produced, enveloping the entire stone platform. My cultivation is limited to the blood transformation realm? After being enveloped by this fluctuation, Xiaohao discovered that he could only display the power of the blood transformation realm on this stone platform. Honglong. The stone platform fiercely shook, and a pitch-black boulder fell from the sky, landing on the stone platform. The requirements to pass also appeared at the same time. 150,000 gene boulder? I just have to lift it up? Xiaohao chuckled. When he was in the blood transformation realm, his strength already exceeded 300,000 gene. After rebuilding his foundation, Xiaohao's strength became even more terrifying. This checkpoint is actually quite simple. Reaching out his hand to grab the handle on the boulder, Xiaohao casually lifted it up, and this 150,000 gene boulder was easily lifted up. Dang! After Xiaohao lifted the boulder, a bell sound rang out, and the mighty sound wave resounded through the clouds. The immortal light that filled the sky exploded like fireworks, falling down like rain. And what happened? A majestic bell sound rang through the air. Immortal light filled the sky like rain. This type of irregular scene startled everyone in Goddess Academy. The teachers and disciples all rushed out of their rooms and looked towards the direction of the immortal light. That is, the stairway to heaven? Someone actually climbed the stairway to heaven? How many years has it been? How many years has it been since such a grand event happened? I've already ascended to the first heaven, the 9 heavens of the celestial stairway. I wonder how far this person can go? When they saw the irregular scene rise, Goddess Academy's teachers and students quickly learned the reason. They also became curious towards this individual, who suddenly ran over to climb the heavenly staircase. He really went to climb the stairway to heaven? Among the disciples of the academy, the young man and woman who had ridiculed Xiaohao looked at each other in dismay. He has only ascended to the first heaven. With his abilities, this is the best he can achieve. The young man took a deep breath and pretended to be calm as he waved his hand. Senior brother is right. The woman hurriedly agreed. Then, Xiaohao arrived at the second stage. It was also a stone platform. When Xiaohao went up, he found that the strength of this place was limited to the grotto heaven realm. A genius with 10 caves can pass? Xiaohao smiled and shook his head. Although I have already fused the 10 heavenly abodes into one, it is not difficult to separate them again. Divine radiance surged, and the 10 heavenly abodes emitted boundless radiance that revolved around Xiaohao's body. Dang! Another mighty bell sound rang through the air. Immortal light scattered down like rain. It's already the second stage? That pair of young men already didn't dare to say anything. Then, the third stage tested one's engravement realm cultivation. Xiaohao only released one type of the 10 vicious inscriptions, yet he easily passed. The fourth stage was the formation arrangement realm. Once a corner of the 6 Tao reincarnations heavenly arts symbol array appeared, he would immediately pass. The fifth stage tested one's speed, the sixth one tested one's defense, the seventh one tested one's true essence, and the eighth one tested one's combat experience. These tests couldn't stop Xiaohao at all. Xiaohao's figure didn't stop at all. There was no obstruction at all as he easily crossed the 8 heavenly staircases and arrived at the 9th stage. He already ascended to the 8th heaven? What kind of world-shocking genius is this? Ha 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 ha. The heavens are looking after him. They actually sent such a genius to my Goddess Academy. This is too great. Even Goddess Academy's old academy head stroked his sparse beard, smiling so widely that flowers bloomed on his face. However, the 9th bell sound that everyone was looking forward to did not sound. What is going on? Could it be that he can't ascend to the 9th heaven? There was no activity for a long time. This left Goddess Academy's teachers and students endlessly shocked. Continuously breaking through the 8th heaven will definitely exhaust him. After recovering his strength, ascending to the 9th heaven is also a safe method. There is no need for you all to panic. The old Academy head nodded with a smile on his face, as if everything was within his grasp, as if he had long understood everything. However, even after 4 hours, the 9th bell sound still didn't sound. What exactly happened? Now, even the old Academy head couldn't sit still. Dang, the 9th bell sound finally sounded. Ha 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 ha. Not bad. Not bad. Ascending the heavenly staircase with a single leap, breaking through the 9th heaven. A heaven-warping genius. The old Academy head laughed loudly as he rose into the air. His figure instantly appeared at the end of the heavenly staircase. Where is he? Where is he? At this moment, there was no one at the end of the heavenly staircase. That heaven-warping genius seemed to have disappeared just like that. Damn it. It is definitely Qi Daolin. He must have taken action to cover up the bell sound, to cover up the scene of him breaking through. In reality, that genius has already broken through. Qi Daolin, you bastard! How dare you snatch my disciple? I will not let you off. Just you wait. The old Academy head was so angry that he jumped up and scolded loudly. Ha 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 ha. Young man, if you become my disciple, you will be above all living beings and become the supreme being of the world. A middle-aged man in a Taoist robe, his sleeves fluttering in the wind, had the demeanor of a transcendent being. This old man's sect is called the Supreme Dojo. Do you see this majestic mountain gate, this vast territory? This is all our Taoist sect. Behind the middle-aged man, a mountain gate overflowing with light and color stood majestically, with a solemn atmosphere. Behind the mountain gate was a vast and boundless sacred land, surrounded by clouds and rosy clouds. I am Qi Daolin, the master of the Supreme Palace. Young man, if you become my disciple, I will impart to you an invincible divine ability. Qi Daolin stood with his hands behind his back, his aura swallowing mountains and rivers. Then that. Senior, your illusory technique is marvelous and unfathomable. It's just that, the wind is clearly blowing from the southeast, and the branches are swaying in the wrong direction. Xiaohao pointed out Qi Daolin's mistake with a serious face. Qi Daolin's expression froze, then he immediately recovered. Yes. Not bad. Young man, you are observant and your 5 senses are sharp. You can be considered to have passed this test. Kowtow and acknowledge me as your master. Senior Qi. I am here to visit under the orders of my ancestor, not to acknowledge you as my master. Although the name of your Supreme Palace is a bit similar to our sect, there is still a difference. However, there are still differences between the Supreme Palace and the Supreme Tao, right? Wait. You said, you are from the Supreme Palace? You are here to find me under the orders of your ancestor? Qi Daolin's eyes widened. What kind of joke is this? I am the only disciple left in the Supreme Palace who has not officially entered. What kind of Supreme Palace disciple are you? Where did you enter? Senior will know when you see it. Xiaohao waved his hand and released the image of the Supreme Palace in his mind. It's actually the Supreme Palace? When Qi Daolin saw this scene, his whole body trembled with excitement. Quick! Tell me quickly. Where is the ancestor? Chapter 668. Ancestral Master is in Xin Province? When he saw the Supreme Hall seeing Xiaohao displayed, especially that ancestral hall, seeing Xiaohao display the 6 Tao reincarnations' heavenly art, Qi Daolin was already completely sure of Xiaohao's identity. An ancestral master is currently in Xin Province. Xiaohao retracted the irregular scenes, nodding towards Qi Daolin. Let's go. Let's go. I want to pay my respects to the ancestral master. Qi Daolin didn't say another word, pulling Xiaohao up. He tore open the void, crossing the sky dome, hurriedly landing on the transport formation outside Goddess Academy. He activated the transport formation, hurrying towards Xin Province. After being transported to Xin Province, Qi Daolin followed Xiaohao's directions, rushing towards Stone Village. Soon after, the two of them landed in front of Stone Village's entrance. Senior Qi, Supreme Hall is over there. Outside Stone Village, Long Ziba sunk into the ground, only revealing the ancient palace on his back. It is Supreme Hall after all. Qi Daolin was so excited his entire body was shaking. He hurried to Supreme Hall's entrance, reaching out his hand to touch that ancient gate, two streams of hot tears flowing from his eyes. Master, Supreme Hall is still here. Supreme Hall hasn't been destroyed. He reached out his hand to push open the palace door. The building before him was just like before. He quickly rushed into Ancestral Hall. When he saw the portrait hanging high above, Qi Daolin knelt on the ground with a putong sound. Master, back then, I didn't have time to formally enter the sect. I didn't even have time to kowtow to the ancestral master before you sent me out. Today I have finally obtained what I wanted. While kowtowing respectfully, Qi Daolin shouted loudly, Disciple Qi Daolin kowtows in respect to the ancestral masters. You may rise. A streak of radiance flashed past. Li Yu's figure appeared in Ancestral Hall. Your respected self is the ancestral master? Disciple Qi Daolin kowtows in respect to the ancestral master. The one before him was precisely the one on the portrait in Ancestral Hall. Qi Daolin immediately understood Li Yu's identity, hurriedly bowing in respect. You may rise. Li Yu raised Qi Daolin up with a wave of his hand, saying with a sigh, During these years, I, for the sake of reviving my disciples and Dao friends, roaming the world, never stopping in the 9 heavens 10 earths. Who would have thought that the Supreme Hall's bloodline would end up in such a state? Fortunately, we still have you. The sovereign's bloodline can be considered to be passed on forever. This disciple is unworthy and has brought shame to the sect. Please punish me, Patriarch. Qi Daolin bowed to Li Yu, begging for forgiveness. There's no need for that. Li Yu sighed. It's I's negligence that led to this situation. With a wave of his hand, Li Yu took the jade booklet and golden book into his hand and handed it to Qi Daolin. Back then, although your master recorded your name in the jade booklet and golden book, he didn't leave your mark. Now you can be considered to have officially entered the sect. Thank you for your grace, ancestral master. Qi Daolin received the golden book with both hands. After opening it, he saw Li Yu's name at the top of the first page. He immediately understood. This grand ancestor was actually the founder of the Supreme Palace. Qi Daolin opened the golden book and found his name. Then, he excitedly made his mark. Xiaohao, come in as well. Today is also the day you officially enter the sect. Li Yu called out to Xiaohao, who was waiting outside the door. Xiaohao hurriedly tidied his clothes and walked into the Supreme Palace with a solemn expression. He knelt in front of Li Yu. Although I accepted Xiaohao into the sect, I didn't let him take me as his master. Daolin, let Xiaohao become your disciple. Yes. Qi Daolin and Xiaohao hurriedly accepted the order. After recording Xiaohao's name in the jade booklet and letting Xiaohao leave his mark, the initiation ceremony was considered complete. Daolin, you didn't receive the true inheritance of the Supreme Palace back then. Now that you've entered the sect, I will naturally pass on the sect's true techniques to you. With a flick of his finger, he passed the Supreme Palace's true technique, the 6 paths of reincarnation heavenly technique, to Qi Daolin. In the library, there are all kinds of divine abilities, treasured techniques, heavenly techniques, and secret techniques collected by the sect. You can read them yourself. Thank you for your grace, ancestral master. Qi Daolin's eyes reddened. How many years had it been? Although he had the title of the Supreme Palace's successor, he didn't receive any inheritance from the Supreme Palace. All his techniques were stolen from everywhere and pieced together. You are extraordinarily talented. Although you didn't receive the true inheritance, you were able to create your own heavenly technique. It's really rare and commendable. However, your cultivation is still not pure enough. I will help you cleanse it. With a wave of his hand, a ray of immortal light sprinkled down like a clear spring and cleansed Qi Daolin's body. It completely refined Qi Daolin's cultivation and eliminated the hidden dangers in Qi Daolin's body. After you go down, cultivate the 6 paths of reincarnation heavenly technique again. Liu waved his hand, indicating that the 2 of them should leave. Yes, your disciple will take his leave. The 2 of them bowed and left the ancestral master hall. Master, the buildings in the Supreme Palace are extremely mystical. Xiaohao led Qi Daolin around the Supreme Palace as he pointed at the various buildings and introduced them to Qi Daolin. That's the Tao Enlightenment Hall, that's the training field, and that's the library. The Tao Enlightenment Hall is actually so mystical? It can even increase one's comprehension ability? The Artifact Refining Pavilion can even refine immortal artifacts. The library actually has the complete treasured technique of the 10 primordial ferocious beasts? The ancestral master is an immortal king? There are 3 immortal kings in the sect? They are all the ancestral master's personal disciples? Qi Daolin followed Xiaohao around. After listening to Xiaohao's introduction, Qi Daolin only felt a little dizzy. Oh my god! So our sect is actually so powerful? He thought about how his master had been defeated and killed by the Bronze Immortal Palace and the other sections. Qi Daolin felt another wave of grief. Master, why are you in such a hurry to investigate the 9 dragons pulling the coffin? Are you looking for the whereabouts of the sect's elders? If you had been patient and waited until now, the sect's elders would have returned. After lamenting for a while, Qi Daolin entered the Tao Enlightenment Hall under Xiaohao's arrangement and began to comprehend the 6 paths of reincarnation heavenly technique. As Qi Daolin began to cultivate, Liu also gained something. The Void Path realm allows the body to merge with the Great Tao. I can take this opportunity to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. Liu had already done something to Qi Daolin's body. At this moment, through the imprint with Qi Daolin as the node, he began to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. Sigh. This path is blocked. No wonder it's called the Void Tao realm. As expected, it's all void. Through Qi Daolin comprehending the laws of heaven and earth, Liu did not gain anything. The Void Tao realm, the so-called body merging with the Great Tao, seemed to be the incarnation of 10,000 Tao. Actually, that was all an illusion. This was merely a phenomenon of cultivation success. It was not the real laws of heaven and earth at all. When Liu was in the lower realm, he had thought of giving some celestial gods and Void Tao realm cultivators fortuitous opportunities. Now, after verifying it on Qi Daolin, this path was already blocked. The laws of heaven and earth must be obtained. If this path is blocked, there are other ways. Ignoring Qi Daolin, Liu's gaze looked elsewhere. Chapter 669. The world's natural laws and the all-Tao tree can be targeted. Liu's main goal in coming to this world was to analyze the world's natural laws, enrich his own source Great Tao. Only, for this path to undergo a qualitative change in a short amount of time, it is completely impossible. I wonder if I can become an emperor after analyzing this world's natural laws. If I can't, then I'll have to make other plans. Only by becoming an emperor would he have the power to sweep through the world, quell the darkness calamity. The strength of an immortal king was far from enough, not even a half-immortal emperor was enough. In this world, in the past and future, the only ones who became emperors were Darkness Immortal Emperor and Heavenly Emperor Huang. For Heavenly Emperor Huang to become an emperor, according to the original trajectory, it will be several 100,000, more than 1,000,000 years later. I definitely can't wait that long. Liu frowned. There are two ways. One is to speed up Heavenly Emperor Huang's growth, have him take fewer detours. The other is Darkness Immortal Emperor. Making Heavenly Emperor Huang take fewer detours was also extremely easy. After all, in the original trajectory, Heavenly Emperor Huang died several times, one of them even being buried for 500,000 years. Now, Liu naturally couldn't allow this type of thing to happen. As for Darkness Immortal Emperor, he also had a way. There was still a part of Darkness Immortal Emperor's body in the Everlasting Sword core. There was also a part of Darkness Immortal Emperor's soul in the rotten wooden chest. Back then, when Darkness Immortal Emperor had just become an emperor, he was already half dead from a drop of black blood from above the heavens. Helpless, he could only cut off his body and soul that was corroded by the darkness. Half of his ruined body and half of his ruined soul escaped from the land of origin. The Everlasting Sword core is in a void crack in immortal ancient ruins. The rotten wooden chest is in a burial land outside Imperial Pass. These two things aren't hard to obtain. Liu nodded. It's still better to make some preparations. Let's bring the rotten wooden chest over first. When Xiaohao and the others enter immortal ancient ruins, we can just retrieve the Everlasting Sword core along the way. After walking out of Supreme Hall, Liu was just about to move, but he suddenly discovered streak after streak of escape light roaring over from the horizon. This sinner country has long been destroyed by my sect, yet they actually dare rebuild it? What dog guts! Martial Uncle, the new phenomenon of sinners' blood scattering clouds came precisely from this place. Destroyed. Kill them all. As the flowing light whizzed by, many dragon images tore through the air, filling the sky with overwhelming ferociousness. Xiaohao, your enemy is here. Liu shouted at Xiaohao, too lazy to make a move. Why would Liu need to personally deal with an enemy of this level? It was perfect for Xiaohao to practice. Enemy? Xiaohao's figure flashed, and he scuttled out of the Supreme Palace. He raised his head to look at the dragon silhouette that was whizzing through the sky. He suddenly realized, so it's the Phantom Drake path. They actually came looking for me? Leaping up, Xiaohao wielded the Tiger Fang twin blades and blocked the group's path. These people were all from the Phantom Drake Dao sect. The Phantom Drake path was both a sect and a race. The entire Phantom Drake Dao sect was filled with flood dragons. There were a total of 5 people from the Phantom Drake path sect. Other than a middle-aged man, the other 4 looked young. How dare you stop us? This person is definitely from the sinner's bloodline too. A gray-robed youth with a pair of horns on his head rushed out first, staring at Xiaohao, cold light shooting out from his eyes. Sinner's bloodline, attacking my Phantom Drake Dao sect, committing treason and heresy, your sins overflowing to the heavens. Today, this seat will kill the sinners, raise the righteous energy of heaven and earth. Senior apprentice brother Long Qing is still so impatient. This gray-robed youth rushed to make a move, making the others shake their heads with a smile. Punishing evil and eliminating evil, killing sinners, Long Qing is unwilling to fall behind others. A long spear appeared in his hand. The gray-robed youth's hands shook, and a dragon-shaped force rushed to the sky, revealing boundless fiendish aura. Sinners? Evil? I'm the descendant of the desolate border's 7 kings. You bunch of people wearing scales and armor actually slandered my clan as the sinner's bloodline? Who gave you the qualifications? The long blade in Xiaohao's hand erupted with a hint of cold light, sharp metal energy rushing out with a loud bang. A white tiger true form appeared above his head. The White Tiger clan's precious technique? The gray-robed man snorted coldly. Sinner's bloodline people actually know the White Tiger precious technique too? I want to see how much ability you have. Flood Dragon Space Splitting Spear. Go to hell. Sinner! The spear shot out like a dragon, tearing apart the sky. The gray-robed youth used Phantom Drake Dao's secret spear art. This was an absolute kill combat technique. When the gray-robed youth attacked, it was a killing move, completely determined to put Xiaohao to death. Phantom Drake Dao was one of the main culprits who slandered the descendants of the desolate Border's 7 kings. When dealing with the sinner's bloodline, it had always been to kill first before talking. White Tiger 7 slaughtering saber. Xiaohao's figure rushed up, the dual blades in his hands slashing out in succession. White Tiger 7 slaughtering blade light turned into sharp tiger claws, sharp metal energy tearing apart the sky. Clang! Blade and spear clashed, strong winds surging. Poo work! The intense impact made the gray-robed youth's figure tremble, his face like golden paper, opening his mouth and spewing out a mouthful of blood. Ah! Senior apprentice brother Long Qing actually lost? This sinner actually has such strength? This situation made the several Phantom Drake Dao sect members watching by the side endlessly shocked. Damn it! Long Qing flew into a rage out of humiliation. Both hands shook, the long spear in his hand snapped with a crack, turning into 2 short spears. Dragon Tooth Thrust! The 2 short spears were like the fangs of a flood dragon, erupting with boundless ferocity, a vast aura shaking the void. That's all you have? Then I won't play with you anymore. Xiaohao originally wanted to take a look at Phantom Drake Dao's divine abilities and mystic arts, but he discovered that this youth only had a single spear technique that he could take out. Then there was no need to tangle with him anymore. I'll send you on your way. The long blade in his hand trembled, an extremely sharp sword energy surging into the sky. Grass symbol sword art, one of the strongest sword arts in the world. Endless sharpness, unstoppable. With a poowork sound, blood splattered. The gray-robed youth's head was separated from his body, falling into the dust. Damn it! You sinner! You're actually so vicious? You're indeed a natural sinner. Damn you to the extreme. That middle-aged man from Phantom Drake Dao roared with a face full of shock and anger. Monstrous flames surged into the sky, a divine fire hanging above his head, erupting with endless divine might. This was a true god. The cultivation of deity realm, the first step was to ignite the divine fire, and the second step was to become a true god. True god realm, that was a true deity. When a deity was enraged, heaven and earth would change color. At this moment, the wind and clouds surged, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. You dare to kill my Phantom Drake Dao sect, your entire clan will be buried with you. Your entire clan will be exterminated, and not even a chicken or dog will be spared. This true god raised his palm with a ferocious expression, and a vast divine light shone in his palm. Boom! With a violent rumble, a green flood dragon that was hundreds of feet long rushed out of the middle-aged man's hand. Its huge mouth was filled with dense fangs, and it bit down on Xiaohao. This is Phantom Drake Dao's true legacy treasure technique? It's only SOSO. Even when facing a true god, Xiaohao still did not cower in the slightest. After countless battles in the Wall of Gods and Demons, even the true dragon treasure technique had been cultivated to a level that surpassed true dragons of the same realm. How could Xiaohao cower in front of the flood dragon treasure technique? Grass symbol sword art. Slash heaven and destroy earth. A 9-leaf sword grass appeared above Xiaohao's head, and an incomparably sharp sword energy tore through the clouds, destroying heaven and earth. After reconstructing his perfect foundation, the vicious 10 treasured technique turned into inscriptions that were engraved all over his body. Even if his realm was still only supreme, his combat power was already terrifying beyond imagination long ago. The flood dragon phantom released by the middle-aged man was instantly chopped into dust under the 9-leaf sword grass' peerless sharpness. What divine ability is this? The 9-leaf sword grass lineage was probably the rarest among the vicious 10. Not an old monster with a long lifespan, not many people could recognize this peerless sword technique divine ability. A divine ability that will take your life. Gaining the upper hand with one move, Xiao Hao naturally knew how to grasp the opportunity. Sword energy that penetrated heaven and earth whistled through the air. 2 blades slashed out consecutively. On the 9-leaf sword grass phantom, 9 blades of grass were chopped off one by one. Splitting time and space, cutting through heaven and earth, cutting down all things in the world. Even a true god realm true god could only nurse a grievance under this kind of monstrous power. Clang, sword energy rushed to the heavens, and the flood dragon's blood dyed the sky red. A huge green flood dragon fell to the dust with a rumble. Ah! Martial Uncle Longyun was actually killed by someone? The remaining 3 Phantom Drake Dao sect members were scared until their faces were deathly pale, their entire bodies trembling. Your martial uncle is already dead, then I'll send you down to accompany him. Sword light rushed to the sky, and blood splattered. Another 3 flood dragons fell to the ground dead. Big brother undying, there's another loach to eat today. A pity. Tai Hao isn't here. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.